Hello, everyone. Welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Saturday, the 20th of June, 2026. And yeah, sometimes I broadcast on Saturdays, especially when plans don't work out. I originally had an appointment with a customer today that has postponed it. So I thought, hey, all of our friends were making videos today, like Doug Betts and Mike's Unboxing. And I thought, you know what? Feeling left out. And it just so happens our friends over at Sabrent sent to us this USB charging device, and we don't normally review gadgets like this. However, things have changed, and I don't know about you, but we have a ton of stuff that plugs in for USB charging. In fact, I've got the standard keyboard and mouse. You don't normally see me charge these on camera. Obviously, it's not much to look at, but I've got my charging cable here, and I want to demonstrate to you how you would use this, but I want to do this review just a little bit differently than I normally do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read aloud a script that explains this, and then we're going to go off script, and it'll just be me as usual, and then you let me know which one you like better. All right, so I'm just kind of experimenting here. Sabrent is not paying for this review. They sent us the unit in exchange for a review, and they've got over 10,000 reviews on this on Amazon, so I don't think they're really hurting for another review, but they asked for one, and so here we are. Now, we do actually have a big bulk USB charger. I should say Mara has it. I never really understood it a couple of years ago. Now I do. And just my shaver is USB chargeable, my computer air duster is USB rechargeable, keyboard and mouse here, keyboard and mouse here, plus I have a spare keyboard and mouse over there that are USB chargeable, and on and on and on. That's just off the top of my head. So here's how I want to start this. Let's start with your typical YouTube enthusiast video here. Look at your desk right now. How many individual power bricks do you have plugged into your surge protector? 2? 4? Is it an absolute wall of plastic? I bet half of them don't even fast charge your laptop. What if you could replace literally every single one of those bricks with just one sleek desktop hub that pushes a massive 252 watts of power across 8 independent ports at the same time? Oh, and it tells you exactly how much power your devices are pulling in real time on a gorgeous color LCD display. So today we're looking at the Sabrent 252 watt 8-port USB power delivery 3.0 charging station. So we're going to take a look and break this thing down and explain why it just might be the ultimate must-have gadget for your workspace or your travel bag. Travel bag? It's a little heavy. It's like a little brick. But yeah, I suppose you could take it in your travel bag. Anyway, let's dive in. So before we talk specs, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Who is Sabrent, and why should you trust them to plug thousands of dollars of your tech into this box? Well, if you're a PC builder or a creative professional, you already know the name. Sabrent's been a heavyweight in the high-performance data storage and computer peripheral space for decades. They are legendary for making some of the fastest, most reliable NVMe M.2 SSDs on the planet. And you've seen those reviews here. Why does that matter for a charger, though? Well, because Sabrent's bread and butter is engineering hardware that manages extreme performance, power delivery, and heat dissipation. They don't just slap their logo on a generic white label charger. They built a heavy-duty UL certified powerhouse with built-in overcharge, overcurrent, and thermal protection. When I plug my $2,000 laptop, $3,000, Samsung Galaxy Book 3 into it, I have peace of mind when I'm plugging into a Sabrent product or plugging a Sabrent product into it in the case of an NVMe drive. And that's something a lot of the random cheap Amazon and AliExpress brands just can't give you. So you've got 4 USB-C ports on this and 4 USB-A ports on it. The main selling point here is how it handles that massive 225 watt ceiling. So individually, the top USB-C ports can output a whopping 100 watts each. That means you can fast charge a MacBook Pro, a Dell XPS, or even a high-end gaming handheld like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally at full speed. And when you pair them up, They dynamically distribute the juice, supporting PPS, which is programmable power supply, meaning it safely negotiates the absolute fastest charging speed for devices like Samsung's 45-watt, what they call their super fast charging. But the star of the show here is the color LCD display on this, because most chargers have you guessing if your device is actually charging or just trickling. Not this one. The screen maps out the real-time voltage, amperage, and even the internal temperature of the unit. Now, I'm going to show this to you on the camera. We're going to unbox it here in a minute, and you'll see there's a button and a mount included. And the button is there if you want to mount this upside down. It'll invert the screen automatically, so you don't have to read it upside down. And then every time you press the button, it'll cycle through what is going on with each of those USB ports. And then when you get around full circle, it goes back to just sort of a master screen overview. That's the default of what all the ports are doing. So who needs this, right? Well, if you're a tech reviewer, if you're a photographer, if you're a remote worker, you likely have a laptop, an iPad, a smartphone, a couple of battery chargers, wireless headphones. Instead of hunting down 5 open wall outlets, this plugs into one standard AC outlet. It's got a 4-foot cable, and it sits cleanly on your desk, putting all the chaos into one organized hub. Or maybe you're traveling, going on a family road trip. Everybody's got a phone, the kids have tablets or Nintendo Switches. Instead of packing 8 separate bricks and fighting over the hotel nightstand outlets, you just pack this one thing. It supports worldwide 100 to 240 volt inputs, making it the ultimate international travel companion. Here's another scenario. Maybe you're a tech tinkerer or a power user. Because the display shows exactly the live wattage and amperage, it doubles as a diagnostic tool. You want to know if that cheap cable you bought online is actually delivering 60 watts or bottlenecking at 10 watts. The Sabrent display tells you instantly. It's also incredible for powering non-rechargeable desk equipment or microcomputers like Raspberry Pi, where monitoring power stability is key. So you're right around the $90 price point, plus you've got Amazon Prime Day coming up. And, you're getting a lot for the money. It's an incredibly cool, it runs incredibly cool compared to the standard compact GaN bricks. It eliminates desktop clutter, and that color screen is pure tech eye candy that provides genuine utility. So if you're tired of playing with power brick Tetris behind your desk, or if you want a bulletproof charging station from a brand that actually understands power management, the Sabrent 252-watt 8-port charger gets a massive recommendation from me. Actually, that's what the script says, but it really does. I do like this, and we'll get into it. Of course, we've got links in the video description that'll take you to Amazon if you want to look at it. Do keep in mind that Amazon Prime Day is coming up. So what is that, in 3 days? So today is Saturday. So I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be Amazon Prime Days. And so watch for things to be on sale such as this. But let me get back over here. I just wanted to try that. You guys let me know if you found that to be useful information. Sometimes because I'm live and unscripted, I leave information out. And I feel like this covered it pretty good. I mean, as a first go-around for AI, and I'm just being openly transparent about that. And with that, let's get to some unboxing here. Now, I've already unboxed this so I could play with it, so I had some experience with it. So I don't have some of the plastic wraparound things. But again, just for full transparency and disclosure, everything is in the box. Let's go to a close-up here, and I'll show you. See, they're even asking for a review here. All right. Well, I guess I did put some plastic back on this. Good for me. That's more or less how it arrives. And this thing's a little bit chunky, as you can see there. These little indentations here, that's for a bracket. So if we go back into the box, Remove this piece. You'll see inside we have a couple more items. We've got the 4-foot power cable. That's a standard dual pin, kind of a laptop style power cable. Laptops will often use 2 or 3 pin. That's the 2 pin. I do wish this cable was a little bit longer. There are some screws and anchors that are included for mounting this wall mount. And the idea behind the wall mount is you could hook this up, you know, under a desk or against a wall, and you could just slide it onto the mount and that'll hold it. And in that way, if you wanted to take it somewhere, you can just lift it off the mount, like taking a painting off the wall, and go ahead and take it with you and then put it back when you're done. So this is just there as an option if you want to take advantage of mounting it. And then finally, there's an instruction booklet, which is, well, this is warranty, and then these are the instructions here. Okay, so I'll just set all that there. In fact, no, you know what? Let's just throw all this in the box. Let me get this plugged in and let me show you what it looks like when it's powered up and demonstrate how it works. Because I've got the keyboard to charge, and like I said, you can charge 8 things at the same time, and you don't have to worry about you know, having all the plugs taking up every outlet and having a surge protector. And you know, when you think about how much all of those surge protectors cost, and you talk about how much all those charging adapters cost, this ends up being a heck of a deal. And this gives you a lot more information, like the script said. I'll leave that here so you can see what it is. Put it right over there. And let's get this plugged in. So again, my challenge right now is just how short the cable is. In fact, you know, now that I think about it, let's not use this cable, because at least for me working here on the bench, I have to, the plug is all the way down here on the bottom. And then this is a Kensington lock, so if you're afraid of somebody stealing this, you can buy a Kensington lock separate if you want to. Basically, it's like a bicycle lock. It's a steel braided cable that you can wrap around something unmovable, and then it locks into the frame of the device, and nobody's taking it. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just set this aside, and let me grab just my standard 2-pin cable, because at least those are, you know, they're not proprietary, they're very common, and you can buy the extension cables on Amazon. That's where I got mine from. So let's see, down here on the floor, I've got it here somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, this is much better for my needs. And we'll just plug it in right here. Now, once it's plugged in, you'll notice nothing happens because it has an on-off switch. And if you just press and release the on-off switch, you're not going to turn it on or turn it off by mistake. You have to really hold that in and give it a couple seconds, and it will power up. And you'll see the Sabrent logo, and then it will show you what every port is doing in the order they're here. There's little labels above each port embedded in the plastic, so they're a little hard to read. But essentially, this port here is this top port, and the second one on the right is the second one on, well, your left, right? Left, right? So on this side here, it's for the ports 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on this side over here, it's for ports 1, 2, 3, and 4. Pretty straightforward. I don't know why there are so many instructions for it. And then if you just tap and release the button, you can look at the details of each port as it goes down one side from top to bottom. And then after you get to the bottom, it starts over on the other side from top to bottom. And then once you cycle back around, you get back to the overview screen. If you were to mount this where it were upside down and you're having trouble reading it, just tap the button 2 times and the screen flips around the other way. So they thought of everything here. So what I can do now is I can take my USB cable. There's no USB cables included, so you provide your own. And this is USB type A, and it doesn't matter which side of this I want to use. Just plug that in here. And now this is one of my micro USBs, which I can't wait to get rid of these things and finally get everything USB-C. But in the meantime, I just plug this in just as I normally do. And normally I'm just watching the red light on the mouse and it'll turn off when it's charged. But if I'm curious how much power that's pulling in, I can pick this particular port out and cycle through the screen. Let's see here. I have to look at it before I show it to you because I'm not sure which one it is. And you'll notice here on the screen, There's one that looks a little different than the others. That's the one we're plugged into. And it says we're plugged into port number, oh my gosh. The writing is so tiny on here, it's very difficult for me to read it. Let me get my higher magnification glasses out, see what it says. Once you get used to it, you know, it's just their own naming convention. This says we're in port, I gotta flip this the other way, A1A. So that's A1A right there. And if I click this button, it'll bring up A1A up at the top here. So there it is right there, and we can get all the details of what it's doing. Now, obviously, I can't set this on the desk because the cable goes in the bottom. But this is really meant to either be set flat or to be mounted with the mounting bracket, one or the other. So it's a little difficult for me to demonstrate it on camera for you guys because I can't just leave it down there. And when I put it this way, you can't really see it. I could put it sideways, but you still can't really see it very well. If I were going to use this, and I will be using this, I would just lay it flat on my desk or even on the floor under the desk. And then I would leave my USB cables plugged into it. Then all I need to do is, you know, have a USB micro adapter along with the USB-C. And then for as many devices as I want to charge. If Mara wants to charge her phone at the same time I want to charge my phone, we're only using 2 of 6 ports. If we want to charge my headphones, if I want to charge any number of devices, my shaver, we don't have to do one thing at a time. I've been so accustomed to doing one thing at a time, I don't even think about it anymore. So, like, I will charge up the mouse and wait for the light to go out, and then I'll charge up the keyboard. Like, I don't need them both charged at the same time. That's what I tell myself. But now that I can, I probably will, right? I mean, why not? That's pretty much the whole device. As far as I know, there's no fan in it. It's 100% silent. It's really, really heavy. I mean, I'd say that's a good, well, it's probably close to 2 pounds. So it's got some pretty decent electronics in it. And that usually is an indication of quality. And we talk about power supplies, those really light computer power supplies are usually not very good. That's usually an indicator. However, you know, that's an assumption. I haven't opened one of these up and looked at it. There's really nothing user serviceable in here. And I noticed the screen just changed on its own. So I wonder if it only displays the screen, you know, for a limited amount of time, or if there's a way to freeze it. And if you want to turn it off, you just hold the button in, wait a few seconds, and the unit's off. So it's a real simple operation. It's built really well. It looks like it can take some abuse. So if you're traveling with it or something, I imagine that it's going to survive all of the bumps and bruises that go along with travel. But for me personally, I would just have it on my desk or under my desk. And I think we're going to replace the one we've got. The one we've got is very basic. It's just plugs. It doesn't have any data on it. It doesn't tell you what's going on. So normally, about the only thing I can tell if it's fast charging would be my phone, because it'll tell me right on the front of my Samsung if it's slow charging, fast charging, or super fast charging. And that's nothing for this. I think super fast charging is 45 or 65 watts. It's pretty low. This is a total of 252 total capacity. And again, it's really just about how long it's going to take to charge something. You know, with a lithium-ion battery, you really like to keep them between 20 and 80% for the longest battery years of service. But I still have a habit. I like to charge them to 100%. I don't normally keep phones long enough for that to be a problem. And if you are worried about that, do know that lithium-ion batteries charge super fast. The lower they are, the faster they charge. And then the closer they get, you know, once they exceed about 90% charge, no matter how powerful the charger, no matter if it's supercharging, it starts to slow down the charging. So to get from 25% to a 90% charge might only take 17 minutes, but to get from 90% to 100% may take another 20 minutes. That's how lithium batteries work, and that's what is helping keep their lifespan, continuing to operate over time, as well as preventing the battery from overheating and catching fire. But in general, they do say don't charge it till you hit 20%. And in general, they say don't overcharge it beyond 80%. My Samsung Galaxy Book 3 has smart charging, and it keeps the battery at around 79 to 80%. It won't go any further than that. And I can turn that feature off, but I mostly keep the laptop plugged in, so it doesn't make a difference to me. If they're telling me it's making my battery last longer by not charging it all the way, I'm okay with that. If I were getting ready to go on a trip and I was taking the laptop with me, I would probably want to go ahead and put that to 100%. And, it's okay to do that from time to time. In fact, it's probably, in my opinion, good to not always charge the battery the same way over and over again. Just like it wouldn't be good to eat the same food every day all the time, no matter what it is. It probably becomes toxic. So, some balance in there. And so long as I don't need to take the laptop anywhere, I just leave it plugged in. And sometimes if I want to take the laptop into the other room to show Mara something, I'll leave it unplugged just to make it work off battery for a little while. And then it'll usually start going to sleep early if the battery's getting low, and then I'm puzzled because I forgot I left it unplugged. And then I plug it back in, and it didn't power down or anything. It's just putting the computer to sleep, putting the screen to sleep much, much sooner than I have it set to. And that's my indication. Oh, it's saving the battery, And then I plug it back in, and then I forget I have it plugged in. So it basically stays that way until the next time I have an excuse to unplug it. And that's how I find the balance in it. So I don't know how much my battery has degraded over the course of a couple of years with either my phone or my laptop. With the phone, I always charge it to 100%. I can't help myself. Seems fine. And with the laptop, I set it to smart charging, and I can see the status of the battery in the system tray, and it's usually around 79% all day, every day. So I just let it self-maintain. With that, if you guys have any questions for me, the other thing I want to do today, and the reason why I didn't make this its own standard video during the week, is I don't think there's 2 hours of content here. So I wanted to do this to kind of go over it as well. It's a product, we don't normally review this kind of product, but we do have a need for it. So when they offered, I said, yes, please, send me one. They sent it free of charge with no conditions. So that's just, again, my full transparency that I'm not paid to make this content, and this is a product I actually will be using. Mara and I will both be using it. And I see my red light's going to be on for a while. And if I want to, I can unplug this one, plug this one in. And if I could get off my butt and go get another little micro B cable, I've got many more ports I could be plugging this in at the same time. And you'll see here we've got a red light on, assuming you can see the red light. Is it going to pick that up? And when the red light goes off, I know this is charged. I normally only charge these about once every 2 to 3 months. And I don't know, I've had one die on me on camera. I usually, for some reason, I think about it in the evening and I plug it in. And then before I go to bed, it's usually charged. And then I plug the other thing in, and then I go to bed. And in the morning, they're both ready, you know what I mean? So that's a system that works for me. And then if I need to charge these keyboards up, I typically would wait until these are done and then the next day do the same thing. But now I could do all 4 at the same time. Easy peasy. So the only thing preventing us from using this is I needed to make the video. That's another reason I wanted to get the video out quickly so we could hurry up and put this into our production process. And I don't think we're going to mount it anywhere. It does have some rubber feet on the bottom, so you don't have to worry about scratching up a desk. You could set it on carpeting. You're not going to block any heat. All of the venting is just right here on the end. So as long as you didn't put it upside down, against something like a table, because that would block ventilation. Other than that, there's no other ventilation on it. So I would make sure that's free and clear. And whether or not you choose to mount it, they give you everything you need for that if you want to. Let me say hello to everybody joining us here on this late Saturday broadcast. Who do we have? Eddie Casanova says hello. John Williams, Green Dragon, Terrell Cochran, and Bill142 say hello. Bikeman and Mark Gaines are joining us, along with David Martinez. And of course, Mara, our channel administrator, joining us. I was trying to think of some processes I could demonstrate to you during today's show with regards to computer configurations, drivers, Windows, networking. And it's really tough for me because we've demonstrated that so many times before. It just becomes a repetition with maybe some minor updates with regards to, maybe I used to set up in a certain order any sort of configuration for network or Windows or driver locations. And I've modified that over time as new services have become available. So sometimes it's good to revisit that just to keep you up to date on how the processes continue to evolve, and it will continue to evolve. The way I show you guys how I install Windows 11 today is very different from how I showed it 3 years ago, even though it's still Windows 11. Windows 11 has changed quite a bit, and some of the hardware has changed quite a bit. So, I try to demonstrate that as much as possible, and I keep emphasizing to you guys that using third-party software to find your drivers or to do work for you, it often comes at a cost, especially if it's free software. And I strongly advise you to avoid it unless you absolutely have to have it, or you're willing to take on the consequences that will eventually, more than likely, happen. It just hasn't happened yet, because every time Microsoft updates Windows, these free applications usually take a while to get caught up. And so since you've already got the free app and you've had it for 6 months and it's been working great, it's this new Windows update, and now you're going to be one of the few people likely going on social media complaining how Windows Update broke your computer when it was that free app you put on. Now, if it's a free app like something silly like it's changing your wallpaper or it's changing your start menu to look something, I mean, that's such a fickle, nonsensical thing to end up having your computer not work for that reason. It's mind-boggling to me. It's your choice, of course, but I try the best practices as much as possible for my paying clients, because I don't want them calling me and asking me for help. That costs me money. So because my clients are on a fixed price every month, they can call me as much as they need to, and my goal is to give them no reason to call me. So I can't stop a virus from happening. I can't stop an employee from clicking on a bad link. I can't stop a power supply from failing or a power outage from causing damage. But what I can do is put in safe practices, which means we've got a paid version of Malwarebytes on there. We always keep the Windows up to date. We always run disk cleanup on a regular basis, at least once every other month. We always clean those temp files. We never use CCleaner. We never use any third-party utilities. Things like Revo uninstaller, things like, as I mentioned, CCleaner. If there's a piece of backup software you use, that's fine. I wouldn't consider a backup software to be a third-party utility software. I'm thinking more like a PC optimization and tune-ups. Even my piece of software that does optimization and tune-ups is only doing things within Windows for you. It's not going in and modifying things that I have discovered in the registry, because those are the things that Microsoft closes up, and that's where you're going to find yourself in some big trouble. Things like people saying, oh, did you know that there's a server, what did they call it? It was like an NVMe driver that Microsoft is not releasing on the Windows 11 operating system. And if you go on your registry and you change this, you could get faster input-output. Yeah, so that is true, but it's not complete. The complete answer is the reason Microsoft hasn't made available to the general public is because it causes most computers to crash. Those that don't crash often see no benefit from it whatsoever, unless it's a server That's why Microsoft only applies that option in the server operating system. But that won't stop a content creator from suggesting you edit your registry, make a modification that then your computer blue screens, and you may have to reinstall Windows from scratch to undo the damage you just did to yourself. All for the illusion, ultimately, that even if it works like it's supposed to, you get about 5% of a bonus of a performance difference. And that's until a Windows update or a software update comes out in 6 months or whatever it is, and then your whole system crashes. And then you're right back asking for help again. So if you never did that to begin with, you'll never have that problem, right? Like, you're never going to fall off of a trapeze if you don't get on the trapeze. Now, if getting on the trapeze is something you have to do, so be it. But if you just think it'll be fun, you know, explain that to the emergency room doctor. It's what you want to do for fun. I'm not here to stop you from having fun. But I think it's a lot more fun to actually have a working computer. That's just me. John Lewis joins us and says hello. Welcome in, John. I am waiting for Amazon Prime Day to see if we get any good mini PC deals. So some folks in the chat mentioned a Boss Game mini PC that I think is a little bit pricey. And I can't help but wonder if maybe they've raised the price a little bit in anticipation of the upcoming Prime Day. So I'm going to sit tight, wait and see what happens. If we find any good deals on mini PCs, or if you find any over at Amazon on Prime Days, please let us know. Gerald Cochran said he has a friend that has one of these. There's 2 banks, and that 252 watts is divided in half. So each side is 126 watts. Yeah, that sounds about right. I can't imagine why you'd be pulling in. Well, I'd have to know what the heck you're doing, right? What are you charging? A couple of gaming laptops at the same time? That's going to push this pretty hard. But just like standard USB stuff, most laptops, no problem. But those really high-end, expensive laptops are power hungry. And you might only be able to just plug one of these in depending on, check your laptop power adapter and see how many watts it is. So you can know how many of those you can plug in at the same time without any problems. This is telling me it's pulling half of a watt to charge the keyboard, and I expect that. It's a little battery, you know what I mean? That's not going to charge fast. And if we filled up every one of these ports, I'm going to take your example the opposite way. If we filled up all of these ports with keyboards and mice at half a watt each, we're going to be at 4 watts total consumption. A far cry from 252, regardless of how it's split. You're not likely going to hit the limit. I mean, if you wanted to with intention, and you had some really expensive gaming laptops, I think that's about the only way you could do it. I could charge headphones. I could plug headphones into this, and I can charge my phones. I am sure I could charge 8 phones on this. If they were fast charging, I'm trying to think, would that exceed it? It might just exceed it in fast charging. I would be curious to see what it would do, how it would handle that. Because it is intelligent, and I think it will adjust automatically. It's not like it's going to catch fire or anything like that. So, but keep that in mind. Something that delivers 252 watts, and it is UL certified. Keep that in mind. A lot of products are circumventing that now. And they're bypassing government approvals, especially if you're ordering it from China. So, if it burns your house down, just think of the money you save. Paul Connolly says hello. Charles Vandola says hello. Arnold Albert joining us as well. But we've had really good luck with Sabrent stuff, including their NVMe enclosures, the external ones. The one I always grab all the time, that little open one. That Sabrent makes that, right? So when Sabrent reached out about this, understand that we get emails all the time from companies that want us to show off all kinds of weird stuff. And if it's a company we've never heard of, number one, and it's a product that we don't normally review, like, here's a stand for your Apple product, they obviously don't watch our channel. We don't feature Apple products. We never have. And usually those two things are related. In other words, we worked with Sabrent before, And a lot of things Sabrent makes is right up our alley. These companies we never worked with before, we likely never worked with them because they don't make products that we would typically feature on our channel. And you know, here's a little case for a Raspberry Pi or something. Why are you sending this to me? Oh, we saw your content. We love your content. We're big fans of what you do. They don't know my name. You know, it's just a boilerplate email they're just blanketing out to content creators. And when I first saw it, my reaction was, it's another one of these Chinese companies, you know. But then I was like, oh wait, that's from Sabrent. Oh, well, that changes things. So yeah, you know, we like Sabrent stuff, and we just so happened could see having a benefit to this. The USB big charging bank Mara has is about 3 or 4 times bigger than this. So this is much more compact, and it has that screen. Now the screen for me, I don't really need it. It just confirms, okay, it's charging. Like if I couldn't tell from the lights, I could tell if it's going to 0 watts, it's charged. But in any event, you know, I just want to take a minute and introduce it to you. It is different, you know, from what we normally do, but at the same time, from a company we featured here many times before. Mark Baggett says hello. Welcome in, Mark. So I was going to take a look over here at PC World Magazine, because lately when I look at their news articles, it really bothers me. I'm seeing a lot of bad information coming from what used to be reputable sites. It's almost like they're so desperate for content. And I think we have a generation of younger people that don't like writing. I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating, but I'm seeing some very young authors, very inexperienced, talking about things that seem like they've never had a job in corporate America. They're talking about just a home user perspective. And, you know, maybe that's who PC World is now marketing towards, as home users. But, you know, anytime I hear a content creator or I see a website promoting some free utility software that fixes, this will fix your Windows, or this will fix Windows annoyances, I am telling you, man, those come at a cost. And you often won't find the cost out until it happens. It's not typically immediate. And then to go backwards in time to figure out what caused it, it is massively time consuming. So in general, a good solution in that scenario is to wipe your computer clean and start over, and then go ahead and blame Microsoft for it. You know what I mean? Like, that ignorance is what permeates social media. And as a technician, I want to know the root cause of the problem so we can avoid having it happen over and over again. So here on PC World, they're recommending a free app. Again, you know, this is the same magazine that was recommending, what the heck was that? Robotic vacuum cleaner that's not, I don't think they're in business anymore. Whatever happened to them? So there's very little follow-up is what I'm trying to tell you. People will tell you, you know, for an extreme example, look at this really delicious looking meal I cooked. And they'll just talk about how great it is and how wonderful the ingredients are and how healthy it is for you. And then later on, after it's published, a bunch of people are getting diarrhea, stomach cramps, or going to the hospital for food poisoning. But they don't talk about it. You have to research that on your own. And over time, as people report back, the data builds and builds until you might just stumble on it without looking for it. And when a content creator or an internet website is doing that over and over again, you should know that and take everything you read there with a grain of salt, that they don't do any follow-ups. It's just, here's the latest and greatest thing, and you know, if it sets your house on fire, it's not our responsibility. And then they move on to the next thing. You're the one stuck with it, even if it's free. They've got a link here that says some of the best early Prime Day laptop deals. And they're showing a Microsoft Surface laptop at $1,500, which is, they say, $700 off. They say the best budget laptop deal is an Asus VivoBook Go at $380. I think you could do better at Nemo, honestly. You're paying a Asus tax on that. Then they mention Acer, another Asus, and a Lenovo. You see what's happening here, right? They likely have some kind of a backroom deal with these big manufacturers. And there's a reason why Nemo's not on the list. There's a reason why other of the Chinese manufacturers that are decent products, they don't talk about them here. So when you find out what's going on, are these companies quite often, and I don't know in this case, but quite often they're paying them to promote this. So just because we don't know for sure, I would assume the worst and assume that they're being paid, because they're not really looking out for your best interest. And not in most cases. They want to make as much money as possible. And if they get you to buy, that's good for their wallet. Not good for yours, but it's good for theirs. That's their job. That's what they're out to do. They're not a consumer advocate. If you want that, check out Consumer Reports magazine, or go to a reputable content creator who is a consumer advocate like Louis Rossmann or Gamers Nexus. Somebody reputable who's not getting paid on the back end for manipulating or being told what to say. There are quite a few content creators out there that are legit customer advocates or consumer advocates. They can be difficult to find and difficult to label properly, because unless you know, it's hard, it's almost impossible to determine if a content creator or a web article is being 100% transparent. How would you verify it? So you go to trusted sources and protect your money, and make sure when you make purchases that you're purchasing from a reputable seller that has painless returns, typically like Amazon, 30 days free returns. So if you are lied to or misled, you just get your full refund and there's no cost to return it. See, here's one of their deals I want to show you. Just to give you, just to show you, I'm not being bitter and I'm not being cynical, or at least not without proof, reasoning. So here is an example of what I'm talking about. So here at the PC World website, they have an article. They just recently published it 2 days ago. It says, stop paying full price and save $80 on Windows 11 Home. You can grab a lifetime Windows 11 Home license for $59.99. Well, there's no such thing as anything but a lifetime license on any version of Windows. They don't make it any other way. And it's not your lifetime, it's the lifetime of the device. This is part of the deception and manipulation that goes into writing. Or we're dealing with an author who really has no technical experience and has no idea what they're writing about and doesn't know enough to put the caveats, in there, because they don't know. But if we assume they know, then they know that they're deceitful and they're manipulative. Either way, it doesn't look good from my perspective. But if you've been watching my channel for a while, I've been promoting Windows 11 Pro in particular from VIP-URCD keys. And this is exactly why. Do you think you're getting anything different at $59.99? And if so, can you prove it? Because I would love, educate me, okay? If you think you know that there's something different about this that makes it worth $50 more, $30 more. It's more than twice the price. They're saying it's a sale. They're saying that's a good price. If you don't know the value of Windows 11 Home, you'll believe this, right? Oh, PC World's been around a long time. They're reputable. They used to be reputable. Different times now. Different motivation for why they make content. See, at just $59.99, it's easier on the budget. You know what's even easier on the budget? 20 bucks. Okay. You could literally put any price in here and say, it's easier on the budget. Okay, whatever you say. That is the most robotic statement I've ever seen anybody write. And Windows 11 Home includes everything most people need. Okay, so once again, this is all boilerplate Microsoft PR. So I don't know who's paying for this. It's a digital license key. So there's no need to download and install Windows before actually. Oh, you will need to download stuff. So that's no different. That's not different. What is different is this price. So we always go to VIP VIP-URCD keys, right? And then we have our links in our video notes below. And well, they sell software and games and things like that. The only thing I'm here to tell you about is their Windows versions, because these are real legitimate Windows license codes. And they stand behind them for 6 months. Did you see anything in that article about any guarantee for support? Nothing. Not a mention of it. It's omitted for a reason. It's not there. It's not included. If you have trouble, you're on your own. $60 out the window. They're going to cash in a commission. And you're the one stuck with it. So Windows 11 Home here, notice here it's $42.36, right? And I'm just curious because we know we can get this cheaper, but notice there is a, let's see, Windows 11 Home, we're right around the $40 price point. So check this out, Windows 11 Home. Let me try and isolate all these into one page here. Windows 10 Home. Here's the other thing they're not telling you with PC World, by the way. So here's Windows 11 Home for $32.09, right? And if you use my promotion code of Carey, which I do not make a commission on, unlike PC World, I don't care if you buy it or you don't. Well, this is Pro. What did I do with Home? Windows 11 Home, which says $42.36. So if you were to pay $42.36 for this, that's still cheaper than $59.99. If you add my coupon promo code, Carey, at checkout, that becomes 25% less. So that's about $30, right? It takes about $12 off of that, something like that. And then if you buy Windows 10 Home, you can use this digital license key no differently on Windows 11 Home. They didn't tell you that on the PC World website, did they? Because they would make less money if they did. You would spend more money, and they're okay with that. That's their goal. Convince you to spend more money and basically, you know, pee on your leg and tell you it's raining. And if you believe that, that's on you. So here at Windows 10 Home is $21.31 US, right? Yes, using the coupon code or promotion code of Carey at checkout, we'll take that down 25%. That's about a quarter, which is about a little over $5. That brings that down to like $16. Then when they email you the code, you copy and paste that right into your Windows 11 activation window for Windows 11 Home. It activates. You don't have to use Windows 10 to activate Windows 11 with a Windows 10 code. It just has to be Windows 10 Home or Windows 10 Pro activating the equivalent version, Windows 11 Home or Windows 11 Pro. You can't use a home key from Windows 10 or 11 on a Pro version, nor can you go the other way around. So I wanted to point this out because I see the constant deception from what would otherwise be reputable websites, just to prove to you what I'm telling you isn't me being difficult, and it isn't for me pointing fingers and turning everybody evil. I'm showing you. You decide. I'm not telling you not to spend $59.99. I'm asking you why you would. And I have to assume it's because you don't know any better. But unless you tell me otherwise, I can't think of any other reason why anybody would do that. Amara says we have an email. Thank you, Mara. Our friend Buster sends an Amazon gift card. He says, this is my thanks for today's show. It's 1:40 in the morning in Edinburgh in Scotland. I can't sleep as my brother-in-law just returned from hospital. Your friend Buster. Thank you, Buster. Thank you for your continued support. And I can put you to sleep. Just tune in and listen. The droning out of my voice, and before you know it, you're counting sheep. Thank you, my friend. So who can you trust? We're living in a world now with AI that's pretending to be human and disguising itself. We're dealing with so many scamming people. And then you've got legitimate corporations, whether it's PayPal's honey, manipulating everyone from the sellers, the buyers, the content creators, They screwed every single person who did business with them. And you think it's a big, huge banking conglomerate, you know, there's regulations and laws. Yeah, only if they're caught. And they've got the fanciest attorneys on full-time payroll, whether they're sitting in a chair at the office or they're in a courtroom. They're paid the same. They're full-time. All they do is work for the banks. And all they know are banking laws, and they know them really, really well. They know the loopholes. They know the phrasings. They know manipulation. Law today isn't so much about right versus wrong. Today in America, our law is about who wins and who loses. That's it. That's what it's become. And as society keeps evolving and we're experiencing these changes, it's important to know it's not just you and it's not just them. The society in and of itself is changing what is considered ethical and moral. And it's becoming more and more, even though it was pretty bad in the 80s, more and more driven by the almighty dollar being the ultimate good, and anybody against the almighty dollar is evil. And if you're on the other side of that, then there's an extreme perspective variation for what you define as evil and what you define as good. It depends on which chair you're sitting in. So folks like Larry Ellison and Elon Musk that rake in all these millions of dollars in investment money, they don't see the world the same way the rest of us do. Why do they have to? They could if they wanted to. They don't want to. Why would you? They're not obligated. And so they live a very different kind of life that's not relatable to anybody other than their little 1% club. And they can go hang out together, right? But the rest of the population, you know, the other 8 billion people on the planet, I would much rather relate to them, to the 99%, me personally. And it just comes with the territory, you know. They have unique problems that most of us will never have. And they're dealing with different definitions of what expensive is than what most of us would think is expensive. So it's really hard for me to relate to the things that they're worried about. But, you know, the one peace of mind that I have when I hear these stories about some of these folks is that, you know, nobody lives forever. And no matter how much money you make, it didn't save Steve Jobs. It didn't save George Harrison. It didn't save John Lennon. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how popular or how wealthy you are, even in a best case scenario, it's temporary. And someone else will step in. In the meantime, for the rest of us, we just pay our bills and pay our rent, get some food, hang out with our friends. And most of us don't think about the stock market or deal about share prices or insider trading or trading, any of that stuff. We don't have to. So they're taking on stresses that have very steep consequences. And, you know, when you get these CEOs that come in and they bankrupt a company, I mean, they just basically ended their career by making bad decisions. Dave Thomas, for example, who founded Wendy's, you know, he used to work with Colonel Sanders. He was a big influence on Colonel Sanders. And then when they couldn't agree, Dave Thomas went out on his own. He started Wendy's. And it was a great campaign, you know, of the restaurant, and the advertising, the where's the beef, all this other stuff. And when Dave Thomas passed, the next person who took charge, not so good. And at some point, this moron decided it would be a good idea to introduce surge pricing, meaning that if it was a busy time of the day, that Wendy's would charge more for a burger. All the menu items would fluctuate based on how busy the store was, and just like Uber would charge more for surge pricing during busy times. Well, of course, when they made that announcement publicly, the media lashback and the public lashback was so damaging. To this day, Wendy's is in serious financial crisis. What that CEO did is almost unrepairable. If you look at Apple, you know, Steve Jobs went to Pepsi. He went to the president of Pepsi, John, what was his name? Sklar, can't think of his name. And he said, come work for me. And the guy said, I'm not interested in your little, you know, gadgets. And Steve Jobs, you know, he's wearing flip-flops. He's not dressed up. He says, You can sit here and sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or you can come with me and change the world. What do you really want to do? So the guy left Pepsi. He goes to work for Apple. Now Apple has become so big, it's got a board of directors. And Steve Jobs is personally handpicking the person he wants to be CEO. And Steve Jobs is not getting along with the board of directors. Never mind, it's Steve Jobs' company. Now that he has sold off investment, it doesn't belong to him anymore. He owns a piece of it, but he doesn't own a majority share, which means he can be fired from his own company that he created. So by going and getting an ally and picking his CEO, right, he gets to choose who's running his company that has experience like an MBA, whereas Steve Jobs doesn't have any of that experience. And the board of directors basically have a meeting with the new president, with the guy that used to run Pepsi, and says, we want you to fire Steve Jobs. The guy says, I can't do that. He hired me. They go, well, you're going. If you don't fire him, we're firing you. So what are you going to do? So he fires Steve Jobs, the main guy who went and recruited him. He stabbed him right in the back, saved his own skin. That's how they live. That's just the way these corporate people are. Steve Jobs was not a corporate person. So Steve Jobs, got nasty. He created this company called Next, never really produced anything, but scared the pants out of Apple and their shareholders. Because, hey, this thing's coming. And Apple's sales were declining. And they were about 90 days away from bankruptcy. As time went on and the damage settled in, it just started deteriorating and it was spiraling down a drain and they couldn't recover. Nobody in the board of directors or the CEO had any skill to pull out of that whirlpool of a drain that they themselves created. Had they not involved themselves in that way and left things alone, this probably never would have happened. So the direct consequence of their action was them exercising abusive power and control by their financial power. There wasn't much Steve Jobs could do about it legally. He was out. So Apple had about 90 days of money left. Everybody was packing their bags. This plane was going down. Everybody parachuted out of the plane because it was going to crash. Except a small handful of people, one of which was the CEO at the time, which I think replaced the other one. I'd have to go back and Wikipedia and get that exact information. But just paraphrasing here, and the gist of it is, ask Steve Jobs, you want to come back to a company? It's nosediving. It's heading right into the ground. It's going to explode. Hey, you want to jump on this suicidal plane that's only got 90 days before it hits the ground? We've reconsidered. What's the worst Steve Jobs could do, right? It's going to crash in 90 days no matter what. So let's give it back to the guy. Well, you see where Apple is today, right? But then Steve Jobs passes, and then Tim Cook takes over. What's happened? The Vision headset, what a huge mistake that was. Not that Steve Jobs didn't make any mistakes, but he was working on multiple things. So if he created 8 new products and 4 of them failed, who cares? Nobody really talked about the Lisa or the Newton. Everybody's talking about these new things. Whereas Tim Cook, he's just kind of doing one thing at a time. And Tim Cook says, hey, I've been doing this a while now, I want to retire. Here's the new guy. What do you think the future of Apple looks like? It's probably just repeating the same history all over again, and there's no bringing Steve Jobs back anymore. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but we can certainly learn from history. We can see how the pursuit of money versus the pursuit of quality products and customer service have a tendency to work or not work. In the sense that often going after the money results in very short-term gains and a company then failing or being sold off for parts. Companies that get sold off for parts, I'll give you another example. We talked about Kentucky Fried Chicken. Well, Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell and KFC were all owned by a company called Yum Foods. And then Yum, I believe, is owned by Pepsi Corporation. Well, Pizza Hut's losing money hand over fist. The people running it They're just grabbing money and ripping people off. Cheaper ingredients, cheaper pizza, terrible employees. It's just overall a terrible experience. So they make a little bit of money initially, you know, and then people catch on. People say, we're not going there anymore. They just sold the Pizza Hut brand, Yum Foods, sold it for $2.7 billion. I mean, it's a fraction of what it was worth. Fraction. It's almost worthless. I mean, you're talking about the value of the buildings and the land. The brand is almost worth zero. They gave up. So who buys it? An investment company buys it. These are people that get investors to take companies and strip them out and sell off all the parts, and then they go to the bank and cash in. So in most cases, the future of most companies that get bought out by like Berkshire Hathaway, what's his face? Warren Buffett. He's famous for just buying up these companies and then breaking them apart and selling off all the parts. Then they just cash in. So you cash in one time. That's it. You'll never cash in again. It's gone. And then people lose jobs. People have to go find new careers sometimes, or they have to move and relocate because they could lose their home. They don't care. They don't care. It's not their problem. You could have been loyal to Ford Motor Company for 2 generations, 3 generations of your family, and they go, well, we're moving our facility to Mexico. We're moving it to Canada. Bye. You did nothing wrong. And now there's no auto worker jobs anywhere in like Flint, Michigan, for example, where you couldn't wave a stick without hitting one for 100 years, and then all of a sudden, nothing. And so all the little supporting shops, the barbers, the restaurants, everything that supported all those workers, then they close up, and then before you know it, you're living in the projects. So there is some question as to what social responsibility a large company has to the neighborhoods they move into. And right now there is none. And I think maybe in the United States we need to consider some laws that control that, because with these big AI data centers moving in, people are having higher electric bills. That ain't right. People are worried about water shortages. That ain't right. People are worried about the additional heat they're pumping out that makes their neighborhood warmer. That ain't right. And right now, there's nobody really lobbying for the people. When people lobby for laws in Congress, they're typically paid for by large mega corporations with millions of dollars to back people for being elected, putting money into their election campaign in exchange for giving them favorable terms on passing laws in their interest, and that's the trade. And if you don't play the game, you probably won't be elected because people won't know you exist because you don't have the marketing money to sell yourself. So hopefully this country will right these wrongs, except that the people that are running it don't want it to change, and they're the ones ultimately that are making the rules. So, well, it's wishful thinking on my part that this change will happen because the people will want it. Ultimately, it's typically the people with money that are going to get what they want, and they're the ones that are going to push back. And they're going to push back 3 times harder because they can afford it. And I don't say that makes it right, but, well, I am hoping for something to be done morally correct. I'm not counting on it. So until that happens, if it ever happens, I don't think it will happen in my lifetime. We can count on more of the same, is all I'm trying to say. So when you see these articles like what PC World is doing, it's basically a pattern. And the next thing you'll see is that PC World won't be around anymore. They're following the same pattern as many other computer publications that came before them. I used to love Maximum PC magazine. Loved it. Great magazine. Very consumer advocate friendly, and also a bit nerdy, but it had a little bit in there for regular users too. So it wasn't like you needed to be tech savvy to enjoy the magazine. You know, if you had a computer, there were certainly articles in there you could relate to. And then some about overclocking and stuff that probably went over your head. But if you keep reading, over time you pick it up. And unfortunately, people stop buying magazines, so they go online only. And people stop going online for their magazine because they can get the content for free 10 million other places. This is what happened to PC World. This is what's going on with PC Magazine. They don't make magazines anymore. But yet the website's called PCMag.com. They get absorbed by, Tom's Hardware or something, and then they start making cuts to make ends meet, and then they have to start laying off divisions. So what we're seeing is just the slow dying off of the old school magazine journalism that gets converted into digital, realize they can't make any money from it. And what is the knife, that final blow, is AI. Because now AI is taking everything they're writing and presenting it as an answer to a question without ever directing you to the website that provided the information so they can generate revenue from the ads that they would show you. So you're pretty much, you don't have to go to websites to see information now. You just go right to your AI and it brings it to you. And that means all of that advertising from visiting websites is going right down the toilet. So give it another year or two and you're going to see a big wipeout of websites that make their revenue through visitors. Or things will be subscription only where you have to pay. And then you're going to say, why would I pay when I can ask AI? You know what I mean? So they're going to have to come up with a whole new business model to make money from AI. And some companies have already figured it out. It's not rocket science. You just have to throw away that old business model. You got to start over again. And you got to do it before you run out of money. Because you're not stopping the AI. It's coming whether you like it or not. You can choose whether or not you want to use it. That's fine. But, you may not have liked automobiles in the 1900s, early 1900s, late 1800s. So you never bought one. You could have kept your horse and carriage. Nobody stopped you. You could have lived your whole life without one. Nobody cares. It wouldn't stop it. And this is the, human behavior throughout history. It's always the same thing over and over and over and over and over. The downside, I suppose, of me getting older is I feel like life has become a series of reruns. And it's funny to me when somebody's never seen this episode before. You never heard of I Love Lucy? Okay. You don't know where she's eating the chocolates off the conveyor belt? No, nothing. You're new here? Okay. There's an amusement and sort of a bewilderment. Really? You've never seen that? It's so common. It's been around so long. You're not paying attention? So that's what I'm seeing with a lot of the things going on in the tech industry right now, is a lot of recycling of everything we've already been through before. People talk about the war and the price of gas, We were already through this in 1976, man. We already went through all this. We're just doing it again. It's the same thing we did 50 years ago. We're right back doing exactly, pretty much the same exact thing. But, some people weren't around 50 years ago. Younger people, they don't know. They don't know their history. They weren't there. They don't have the PTSD of waiting in a line at a gas station, and it says we're out of gas. Too bad. We haven't gotten that bad yet, but it's very reminiscent. It's very deja vu for me anyway. And I'm like, here we go again. Okay, just stay home. What are you gonna do? So anyway, let me take another look at the chat here because I haven't been paying attention. If you guys have any questions for me, computer tech related stuff, I'm here for you. We're just hanging out on a Saturday evening, just cause. And it just so happened we got this unit from Sabrent, and I was really anxious to show it to you. And of course, links for this at Amazon. And I think we also have a link to the Sabrent homepage as well if you want to learn more about it. Or if you have any other questions about it. I think it's a pretty simple thing, but I don't know, I can't read your mind. And then I saw Buster popped into a chat room to say hello. Lee Huxham mentions he'd rather get a Windows 10 key for a few less dollars and just upgrade to Windows 11 for free. Well, that's my point, though. You don't have to upgrade. If I take a Windows 11, is that my Windows 11? That's my Acronis. Where's my Windows 11? Windows 11 doesn't know the difference of a Windows 10 key from a Windows 11 key. There's no difference. Now, in time, Microsoft could change that and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. But Windows 11, when you put the product key in, whether it's Windows 11 Home or Pro, it just activates. It doesn't say, oh, you're upgrading Windows 10. It doesn't acknowledge any form of an upgrade. It accepts it as a valid Windows 11 license key, regardless if it's a Windows 10 license key. And much the same as a brand new Windows 11 license key, you can only do it once. Nothing's changed, only the price. So that word upgrade is really not the proper terminology, in my opinion. You're not upgrading for free. You're simply buying a cheaper key. That's all it is. They put a different label on it. It'd be like if I changed my shirt and said my name is Gary, and then I put this shirt back on and go, my name is Carey. It's the same guy. He's just wearing two different shirts. And this shirt cost me $40 and the other shirt cost me $30. They're both shirts. They say the same thing. They look the same way. It's only me gaslighting you to tell you they're different. And it's up to you to see through that deception if you want to, because the evidence is there if you look for it. It's not that hard once it's been brought to your attention to see the manipulation. So just FYI, there's no difference between a Windows 10 and a Windows 11 key except price. That's it. And again, Microsoft could change that maybe after Windows 10 extended support ends in October, middle of October. They might say, okay, that's not going to work anymore, or they might not. But once you're activated for life. So as long as you're activated, you don't have to worry about being deactivated. That won't happen. Not unless something goes wrong with the activation servers or your computer, right? But I mean, just Microsoft has never deactivated anybody. It's never happened in the history of the company. It's not a thing, despite what you read on social media and from influencers. They're misinformed, or they're just clickbaiting you into believing nonsense. It's never, ever been a thing in the entire history of computers. There's no such thing as Microsoft deactivating you. It's not an option for them. They don't have a button to, it's not a thing. They could send agents to your house or your office and hit you with a warrant, but yeah, they're not gonna, there's no magical nuke button. They've never had one. So once you're activated, unless you change the motherboard, that violates the license anyway. You have to get a new license regardless. You couldn't reuse it even if it, even if it was still a valid license. It's only a valid license on the hardware you installed it on when you buy OEM keys. That's true of every Dell computer you've ever bought. It's never been any different than that today than it was 25, 30 years ago. Same with Dell and HP, Lenovo, they're all the same. Those licenses are only valid on that specific machine for life, and that's it. Period. End of story. It's never changed. The only thing that's changed is maybe you weren't interested in computers 30 years ago and you don't know the history of it. And maybe you believe the nonsense that people post because you don't know the history. But I'm here to clarify that. None of us are born knowing this, right? You have to learn it somewhere, and you have to learn it from a trusted source. It's somebody on Reddit or Facebook or wherever. If you don't know who they are, if you've not had familiarity with that person or a history with that person to know that they have a history of being truthful and honest, then you should not assume, in my opinion, truthful and honesty. You should assume skepticism and that you're likely being lied to until you can prove otherwise. That's the safest way you can play it on the internet today, in my opinion. Of course, you can always reach out to us and ask us too if you need a little help. Is this real? You know, is there certain information they're leaving out? Ask us. Send us an email. The email address, I'll put it right up here on the screen if you don't have it. Only takes us 2 seconds to respond and say, here's a link that tells you the whole story, or that's a trusted resource, no problem. Doesn't bother us. We just don't want to see you get burned and learn the hard way, unless that's what you want, in which case you'd have no reason to reach out to us anyway. We don't need to be involved. Lee Huxham says hello in the chat room. There's John Rogers saying hello. Jason Bratcher says hello in our chat. There's Frankie B. Good to see our friend Frankie. Good to see all of you. I just recognize some of you. I recognize most of you. RW Robles says hello from Wisconsin. Roblu says hello from Wisconsin, where it's 69. Holy smokes, how hot is it today? What's my phone say? Oh, it's only 85? Why am I sweating? That can't be right. There's no way that's right. I'm going to type in weather and my zip code and see what the phone says. 101. That's okay. It is 101 degrees Fahrenheit right now at 6:13 p.m. in Phoenix. That is, I can feel it. While we were talking, well, this has been charged. You see the light went green? That's fully charged. Get two things done at the same time. I can demonstrate how this charger works and at the same time be ready for our next mini PC review and not worry about the keyboard and mouse dying on me while we're live. And then I can do these. And if I could just get off my butt and go grab a couple more cables, I could do them all at the same time. But I am using these right now. So if I'm going to plug them in, I could just plug them into the streamer and let it charge and use them at the same time, I suppose. But Lee said you actually said my last name correctly. That's the first time it's ever happened. You know, I do my best. It depends what the words are. There are some I really struggle with, but yours, I think yours is an easy one, Lee. Frankie B says, would you recommend that charger? Well, from first glance, Frankie, and we haven't had a lot of time with it. We've only had it a couple days. Yeah, I like this a lot. And our plan is to, you know, we've got a big USB charger now. It's much bigger than this, and it doesn't have the information screen. There's nothing wrong with it. But the idea that we could take up less space, we'll just move the cables over to it and plug it in, seems like reason enough to do it. We don't really have any reason to change it out other than opportunity. So I figure let's take advantage of this opportunity. So Frankie, if you want to ask us in a month or two, you know, ask us, or even wait till the fall and say, hey, are you still using that Sabrent charger? How has it been working for you? What I anticipate we're going to say is, oh, we forgot about it. Yeah, we've been using it every day. That's probably what we're going to say. However, if it burns out on us, if it causes a problem or an incompatibility, we'll only know that in time. And of course, I will make a video and let you know if that happens. I don't think it's going to. You know, the charging block we've got now, that's probably 5 years old, maybe older. It's never had a problem. There's no moving parts in here, so I can't imagine anything short of a power surge or something could hurt it. Other than that, I think it's probably going to be around a very long time. But I'm speculating based on what I know about Sabrent and what I know about USB chargers. So we just have to give it time if you really want to be sure. In the meantime, you know, Prime Day is coming up. And if these do go on sale, if you wait too long and you say, oh, well, 3 years have gone by and we've never had a problem, and they stopped making this 2.5 years ago, you ain't getting one. So there's this balance between buying too soon and buying too late. If you look at the Amazon reviews, this is what freaks me out. Because this is a pretty new product. I don't know how long it's been out. Maybe it's been a year. You know, obviously we weren't the first choice when it was introduced for whatever reason. Or maybe they did offer it and I declined it a year ago. I don't know. But if I go to my video notes here, stop this link, or stop the video playing in the background. Let me go to Amazon and let's take a look at this Amazon page together, because this really caught my eye. You know, here they're asking for reviews, right? But there's already 10,304 reviews. So I want you to consider the data collection here. Even if it was at 30 reviews, you could still assess from that much data the overwhelming amount of stars people are giving it. You know, if it was like 50-50, if we were at 2.5 stars, but we're at 4.7 out of 5. So out of 10,304 people that have rated this, 84% of people say it's rock solid, not a complaint. And then look how the graph drops drastically. Only 10% with 4 stars, 3% at 3 stars, 1% at 2 stars, 2% at 1 star. So you know me, I want to click on those 1 star. Oh, it won't let me. All right. Let's do this instead. Notice there's a $10 coupon right here. That'll bring it to $78.95, and it looks like I could get it free tomorrow if I were signed in with my Amazon Prime account. However, remember Amazon Prime Day starts in 3 days. So maybe this price just drops to $78.95 automatically without the coupon. Maybe it goes lower. Maybe it doesn't change. It's up to the sellers to decide. You know what? Let's take a look at their little marketing material here just to see if they've covered anything a little differently than me, or they've got maybe some better demonstrations than what I've got here. That desk looks familiar. Oh, that looks exactly like Deja Vu, doesn't it? That's exactly what we got. I even do that with my hands. Geez, if my skin was a little darker, that could have been me. I wouldn't mind having that t-shirt either. And look at all the videos other people have made on this too for reviews. But let me just scroll down here and just look at the default reviews. I'm not going to look at all 10,000. Here's somebody's video that they made. If you don't want to believe a professional influencer, I don't blame you. The AI overview of all the reviews summarized is that customers find the USB charger works well with 1 out of 10,304. Mentions it handles multiple high current devices effectively. The product features 10 charging ports. Is it 10? I thought it was 8. Yeah, maybe they have a couple versions of it. Is there a 10-port version? Yeah, there's a 10-port. Oh, wait a minute. That's not a smart charger. I mean, it says it's a smart charger, but it doesn't have the display screen. Look at the price difference. Customers usually keep this item. Here's the one we're looking at. And then there's also a 6-port sort of a desk-based charger as well for, again, only a $2 difference between the 6-port and 10. And then the 8-port, that's the one with the LCD screen and all the data on it. And that's what we're looking at today. So those reviews cover all 3 of these models. That's the problem. So it's not 10,000 reviews just on this one specific model. And that does explain some things for me because I was sort of slack-jawed looking at that. Some people have reported the USB ports stop working after 2 months. Well, there is a warranty on this, right? When you're dealing with Sabrent, unlike a lot of those companies on AliExpress, they actually honor warranties. So what is the warranty? I mean, they're not in business to just keep replacing products at their own cost because they will lose money. And if they keep losing money, they have a choice to either pull the product or to go out of business. For warranty information, item details. 1 year limited, 3 years with manufacturer registration. So if you register this product, they want to know your name, your address, your email, because you're their customer and they want to be able to sell you other things, to send you marketing materials and say, since you like our products, it's a lot easier to sell something to an existing customer than to try and get a new customer. And if you'll do that for us, we'll extend your warranty to 3 years. It costs you nothing. And you can set your email to filter it out if you don't want to see it. Or you could unsubscribe from it. You know what I mean? But You're probably just doing it to yourself, though, because if you like Sabrent products, then you're going to be amazed when the next Sabrent product comes out. And you're like, wow, that's really cool. When did that come out? We're like 6 months ago. Oh, I wish I would have known about it. Well, that's what they wished too. But you didn't register, or you chose not to accept those emails, so you did it to yourself. It's your choice, but regardless, it's still a 1-year warranty, no matter what. And if it's going to burn out in 2 months, if that's true, you'll just send it in and have it replaced. This guy here is in Mexico. This guy's in the United Kingdom. So we've got reviews here, interestingly, from all over the world. Well, see, I scrolled down too far. So here are the reviews in the US. Verified purchaser. This is important. These are people that actually paid for it. I did not. So if I review this on Amazon, it will not say verified purchase. I can still review it. It's you, the reader, that needs to pay attention to validate these reviews coming from competitors or corporate shills. And if it says verified purchase, you know they paid for it. And overall, it's all positive. In fact, I don't see a -1. But I'm only saying a fraction. And I think if any of these links, I got to sign in to see them. So, if you're interested, I would strongly advise you to look at the reviews, and do know there's a lot of crazy people out there that are very entitled and unreasonable, that will say, I don't like it because the box arrived with a dent in it or something, and that has nothing to do with Sabrent. You just have a delivery driver that like to drop kick it to your front door. That's between you and the delivery company. That has nothing to do with Sabrent. But that won't stop them. I'm taking off 2 stars because the box had a dent in it. How's the product? Oh, it's fine. Was it damaged? Not in the least bit. I'm going to give it 2 stars because I had to return it for a full 100% money back refund. And you're still that pissed off after getting every single penny back that you're going to leave a 2-star review. Okay. So, if I was the way I was raised, my parents, if I did that, my parents would say, never mind, give us the money back then. If you're going to be a jerk, we were being nice and giving you your money back, and you still bite the hand that feeds you, we'll just take the money back then. Of course, Sabrent won't do that, but that's what my parents would have done. If they gave you something and you said you don't like it, they'll say, fine, give it back. And you're like, well, I paid for it. Here's your money back. Well, I still don't like it. Well, then give us the money too then. I mean, if you're going to be unhappy anyway, why are we giving you your money back? Jerk. So we have some cultural generational shifts from growing up as Gen X to growing up as millennial to growing up as Gen Z to growing up as Generation Alpha. And you can see it in the culture, the disconnect happening, because, they're accustomed to having things their way, regardless if they pay for it or they get it for free. They don't, oftentimes, the younger generations don't acknowledge that very, very important difference. See, this one looks interesting, but who makes it? You Big Buy. So despite the fact that it looks cool, this is not a screen. These are just apparently LED. This is a sticker. That's a sticker. Those aren't LEDs. That's just a red sticker on A1 and A2. So this is, okay, is it even UL certified? And it's sold by Shenzhen Shibishang Qingyu Jinggongs. Okay, you want to buy that? I hope you don't leave it in a room plugged in overnight while you're sleeping, because you will have absolutely no legal recourse. It won't be Amazon's responsibility if your house burns down. And if it turns out to be the best device you ever owned, you won't have any way to really let the company know. This is part of the problem right now. This says that it has an LED display. Really? Where is it? Where is the LED display? Now that one looks like an LED display. I don't see an LED display on here. Because there's usually an outline of a screen. Where's it at? That's saying that it's an intelligent display. Yes, it lights up. Is there some video? Well, that's slick. Is there an actual buyer that made a video? I'm trying to figure this out. It's claiming to have, okay, that is a display. I see, and they're tapping the button. It looked like a sticker because I don't see the outline of the display. Yeah. I don't know if it's saving $10 is worth it for, here's a real customer, obviously, as you can tell from the quality of the vertical video shot with a phone on a kitchen counter. I have no idea what they're saying. Plug it in. You see the screen. Okay, yeah, that's a screen, all right. Oh, I can see the outline. Look how tiny it is. That sure does look different than in the photos, doesn't it? Look at the border around the screen, and then look at the border around the screen in the images. No, it's on an angle. You see what they did there? All the pictures are on angles. Oh, that is clever. That is clever manipulation of photography. It's a visual. They're not exactly lying. They're just taking it from a certain they're taking the pictures from a particular perspective that gives the appearance that that screen is bigger than it really is. So is that ethical? One would say, yeah, it's a picture of the product. It's real. But it's not what the end user took a picture of because they're not professional photographers. They don't know how to make the product look better or worse. They just take the picture like a normal human would, which is, you know, the first thing I would notice if I ordered this and I saw that screen that tiny, that's the first thing I would be shocked by. But as long as I'm not actually shocked with electricity, there's only 19 reviews on this, and only 74% of them, much lower than the Sabrent, like it. With 10,300 plus reviews, they're at 84%. And then if you look at the number of 4-star and 3 and 2, there are no 1-star reviews. Let's go look at these reviews. Vine customer review of free product. Gee, I wonder if they liked it for free. Vine customer review of free product. Gee, I wonder if they liked it for free. And again, and again, and again, and again. And oh, somebody got it for free. They're not going to get anything else for free. Not from this company. This person also got it for free. Well, listen, you got it for free and you still complained. Ooh, look what it's doing to their computer. Oh, they're measuring power. Never mind. It's not doing anything. It has a useful layout on paper. The problem is I don't trust the display or the output claims. My laptop regularly pulls in 50 watts using the same cable. On this charger, it peaked at 13. See, that's an intelligent reviewer, and they're willing to sacrifice getting any more free products in order to tell the truth. That's not common. I have great respect for people like that. So, did anybody actually buy this product that reviewed it? Not one of them. How bad can it be? At least in the ones it's showing us here without logging in, two of the reviewers got the product free and still didn't like it. Well, you're not going to find that on Sabrent's webs. You know, on the reviews on Sabrent, clearly the vast majority are paid for by the customer and telling you their honest opinion, given that they spent their hard-earned cash on it. See, when you just do a little digging, and it doesn't take much. A lot of people are lazy. They see what they want to see. But if you want to see the truth, you just got to take a couple minutes. And I would do that before you order it. Even though you can return it within 30 days, it's kind of a hassle. I've done that. I've made the mistake where I've ordered something very quickly, and after I hit the order and, you know, submitted it, then I'm bored. And then I start reading about it. And then I go, I'm an idiot. Can I cancel? Oh no, it's too late. It's already moved on to shipping. Like within minutes, Amazon's fast. You want those products fast, don't you? And within minutes after ordering, it was already too late to cancel. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to be making a trip to the UPS store here and returning it. Damn it, I shouldn't have been so impatient. Been my experience. Honest truth. It's happened more than once. Hopefully I'll learn my lesson. Terrell Cochran says his friend has one of these and he loves it. It's just you don't want to plug in two MacBook Pros on the same side of it. That's how he found out about the power being split into two banks. Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense to me. I love hearing about experience versus, you know, what somebody on Reddit or social media said. Frankie wants to know, does Sabrent have a right angle plug? I don't believe that they do. However, if we go back over here to Amazon, where's my Amazon page? And over here, and let's see. Forget what this cable is called. It's a two-prong right angle power cord. Maybe that? I don't know what they call it. That was easy. Here it is right here. $6. Just make sure you get the right angle, because there's a left angle and there's a forward angle and there's a reverse angle. Sometimes you'll see them listed under here, which way, which 90 degrees do you want to go? So if you want it to come out towards the back of the unit, do you want it to come out towards the front of the unit? Do you want it to come out towards the right of the unit? Do you want it to come out towards the left? And you've got to pay attention to that. It's usually in the title somewhere. It'll say which angle it's on. So this says it's a 90-degree right angle, two-prong power cord, right? So if I use the right search term, I was pretty close. And let's just see what other, there should be a lot to choose from. So notice the angle this is on. I think this is the same. This one is opposite. And then there should be forward and backward. And of course, they've got them with different power plugs too. So I'm sure you can get European plugs, mostly because we're in the US, we're going to see the US options here. And then of course, different lengths as well, because that is a pretty short cable at 4 foot. I would appreciate a longer cable, but here's an example of one going downward versus upward versus left versus right. And they're all under $10. So FYI. And these all have 30-day free returns. If you accidentally order the wrong direction, just return it to Amazon. It's super easy, and go ahead and order the proper one. I've made that mistake too. I thought the right angle was the one I wanted, and I wanted the left angle. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, they were looking at it from the other side. I was looking at it from a different perspective. I didn't know that until I had it in my hands. But they're cheap and plentiful. Very easy to find. So thank you for the question, Frankie. Lennox Curl says, Computer Len here. Are there any major builds coming up? We've not had a build this year. I think the last build we did was, I don't know, late 2025. Unfortunately, the AI and the economy in general, groceries and gasoline and people getting laid off, it's pretty rough right now and nobody's buying. I'm willing to do the work. You know, Len, if you want to order a computer from me, we'll make it happen. We will build it on camera and we'll ship it to you no differently than any other day. I'm not the guy to ask. It's really your friends, your neighbors, and the people you work with, the people you know. Ask any of them if they're going to be buying a computer this year. Out of curiosity, Do you know anybody, including yourself, your family, your friends, that's bought a computer in 2026? And if so, was it a desktop? If you look at sales for motherboards like Asus, MSI, ASRock, Gigabyte, they're bleeding out cash. They're almost selling nearly 50% less this year. All of their revenue has been almost cut in half, and it's not quite at half yet, but it's getting there, and it may exceed half. That means they're going to have to start letting people go, limiting their product lines and any future new motherboards. They won't be putting as much money into designing new boards that people aren't buying, so they don't need those employees. They're going to start cutting things back unless this turns around quickly, which at this point now, it's going to take some time. So the short answer, unfortunately, is no. We have no computer builds planned, and that would have been the same answer in January, unfortunately, in February and March and April and May, and now we're in June. I think unless somebody orders something, that's all we got. So welcome to 2026. A lot of mini computers being sold. Still, a lot of laptops are being sold. But people building computers, it's almost feeling like we're getting to a point where you're like, hey, you're going to be fixing a VCR anytime soon? I don't think so. I don't really know anybody that uses them anymore. And I'm afraid that for home users, that desktop PC it's going to go back to being sort of the little club it was back about 10 years ago, where very few people built their own computers. We were like this little club, you know. Back when YouTube wasn't so popular, those computer enthusiasts found the videos. They created this community. Then it expanded and everybody wanted to hop on the bandwagon. And then the bandwagon flipped over and everybody scattered. And there's people going, hey, we're going to set this bandwagon back up again onto its wheels. Those of us who remain will. So we sort of, you know, if you could chart it, sort of climbed up, reaches peak popularity, and then it drops off a cliff. And all the people were there in the early days that are interested will still be interested. And all the people who suddenly became interested and infatuated for this little period of time, they're going to go back to doing whatever it was they were doing before. They leave it all behind. So it'll be up to the enthusiasts to rake this back up onto its wheels once things settle back down. But unfortunately, we just have to wait for that to happen. And it will happen. We just, you know, will it be 3 months from now? Will it be a year and a half? We don't know. Frankie says, I meant to say, does the charger you have on your bench have a right angle? No, it's just you don't see it? Are we talking about this side of the plug, or are you asking about the others? Mine are straight through cables, right? Because I have a surge protector back here. I don't need a flat plug if that's what you're asking. But they do sell them on Amazon. Mine's just I think this is a 10-foot 2-prong flat. It was cheap. It was very inexpensive. It's one of the cables I don't use very much. The one I use more of is the 3-prong, and that's why it's got a fancier braided wrap around it, so it can take a bit more abuse. This is kind of a throwaway. I didn't want to put any money into it because I maybe pull this out once a month. The other one I'll pull out 10 times a month. And then, of course, we have the big, what's called a C13 cable. And we still run into some devices, power supplies, etc., that still use that. So this is the least common power plug that I personally use. So I didn't put much money into it. And my surge protector back here, I've only got 3 things plugged into it. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 open outlets. So I got plenty of room. I don't need to have any outlets angled out of the way. Terrell Cochran said he put off his RAM and hard drive NAS upgrades for a while. Yeah, well, you know, we were talking to our good friend Mitch. We went out the other day. It was very nice of him. He took us out to dinner, and It's always good to hang out and chat when it's just a friendship, it's not about business. And he's got his NAS at home, and he's had it for a while. I think it's a Synology 918, which means it came out in 2018. And that means it's about 8 years old. And so Mitch is saying, I would like to get a 5-bay. He's got a 4-bay. He'd like the extra space of a 5th bay. Okay. The problem is a 5-bay Synology is about $850 empty. So it was like, okay, so let's say, for example, I say, well, you know me, right? I go, well, why do you want that? I get you want the other bay, but you could just buy bigger drives. Which one's going to be cheaper for you, honestly? And he said, well, 918 it's so old, the processor's so weak. I go, you're not even using the processor. Who cares if you've got a high-end processor or a low-end processor? You're not using it. It's just a big flex media server for him. It's no matter how weak that CPU was in 2018, he's barely touching it. So having a more powerful processor is meaningless. It will make no difference to the way he uses the NAS, unless he starts using it for other things, which he never has. So you say, okay, well, it's your money. If you buy this $850 5-bay 1525 from Synology, right? It's got a 25 at the end. It's current model from late last year is when they announced them in the fall. And he goes, yeah, but I could take the 4 drives out of my current 918 and then move them into the 1525, right? And I don't have to reformat or anything. And that's correct. You can plug them all in and then turn your new Synology on, and it'll say, hey, these drives just came out of a 918. Do you want to migrate them over to a 1525? And it's asking you that because you can't migrate backwards. You can only go forward. So if you change your mind, you're screwed. You're stuck now. Unless you want to start all over, wipe the drives, back up the data, wipe the drives, and restore all the data. With that many drives, you're going to be a few days. He's like, oh. And I said, well, what would you do with there's nothing wrong with your 918. What would you do with it? I could give it to my brother. Would your brother use it? I think he would use it for his business. Okay, but if the reason you're replacing it, I laugh at this because I'm like, you do hear, I'm not making fun of him. I understand exactly where he's coming from. I get it. It's a complete misunderstanding of all the marketing. So the marketing's really pushing how much better the processors are, yada, yada, yada. And I go, the 918 isn't going to get much more support. The latest Synology DSM is 7.4. And you're fine. You could get 7.4. It's going to be exactly the same. And he's not understanding that all these Synologies have different CPUs and different chipsets. So one might have an AMD, one might have be based on a Qualcomm, like an ARM processor. One could have the Intel Atom processor, if you go back, Celeron. And there's different chipsets and there's different drivers. And so so when you go to download a Synology operating system, you have to download it for that specific model in order for all those drivers that are hard-coded into the operating system. It's not Windows. You can't add drivers to it. They have to. So if you get a 1525, you can't use the 925 operating system. But the 1525 can say, oh, this came from a 925. Do you want to migrate it? And it has to rewrite a whole new operating system while keeping your configuration in your data safe so that it can talk to the processor and all the modern hardware in it. And that's why if you go to download a Synology operating system, it's a list about this long, and you've got to pick the one for your unit or it's not going to work. They're not all the same. They have to be individually coded to work with each device. So a 918 software won't work on a 1525. The drivers are all wrong. Even the code may have to be rewritten depending on the processor. An ARM processor does not talk the same way an Intel processor talks. It's a whole different language. It's still talking, but it's speaking a different language. So I wouldn't give a device that isn't going to get security updates soon to somebody running a business, right? If you just have movies and music and it's a Plex server and someone encrypts your NAS because it's old and there's no security updates, and they say, give us some money or we're going to erase your, so what? Or if they say, oh, we're gonna grab all your data, we're gonna release it to the public, go ahead, it's just movies and music, what do I care? But if you're running a business on it, you don't want to go cheap with a giveaway NAS. You definitely want to buy a supported NAS for security. So I said, you're not at end of life on that 918 yet. You probably have another year out of it. When that happens, then my opposite, then my advice is you should replace it for security reasons. So you keep getting all the updates, even though it's just a Plex server. But regardless of what processor it has, it doesn't matter. It won't make any difference to him. Even if he gets one with a 2.5 gig network, he's still on a power line network. So no matter how fast his network is, it's not going to run any faster. And even if it did run faster, it's not going to play a 2-hour movie in 45 minutes. So there's no benefit to that. Now, you don't have to buy something because there's a benefit to it. You could buy it just because you want it, right? So if you got the money to throw around and you want to do it, do it. But if you're trying to justify it, I don't know any justification. You're just doing it because you can. Other than that, I would say wait, since he doesn't need it. There's no immediate, he's not running out of space yet. He's probably not going to run out of space for a couple of years. But there's no real good sale prices. It's not like he's going to save money if he buys it now. It's going to spend money that he doesn't need to spend, in my opinion. Like if I was advising him as a business client, I would not advise this. As a home user who just says, I feel like I want to buy that today, like an impulse purchase, I don't normally like get any sort of involvement with that. So it's an interesting conversation to have because I don't normally have that conversation with people. And it's kind of awkward for me. I don't know what to say. You want to do something just because. Okay? I have no advice. Like, what do you want me to say? But what I would do if it were me is I would wait until support ends. And then you have an excuse, right? Now you're like, okay, I should replace this. Even if he doesn't get security updates, the most that can happen is he loses some music and movies. You know what I mean? And if you've got a copy of them anyway, an offsite backup of it, or even an onsite backup of it that's not plugged in, you just copy it back over. It takes a couple hours. But I would wait, because at least that's an excuse. At least you go, okay, it would be better if I had something up to date and secure. I agree. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well go ahead and get one with the extra bay. I agree. Then I can take the 4 drives out and move them over. I agree. Then I don't have to buy new drives. I agree. That makes it cheaper. It does. But then what are you going to do with the old ones? I don't know. See, then we open up a whole other can of worms. Well, if it's not supported and you don't need it, I don't know you're doing anybody a favor by giving it away because it's a big security risk. It's also old, and even though there's no problems with it, if there is a problem, too bad. There's no repair on it. You're done. So it's sort of like a disposable item at that point. Maybe best to donate it or sell it to somebody on eBay and wash your hands of it, in my opinion. But if that's too much hassle to list it on eBay and package it and ship it, chuck it in the recycle bin. Maybe keep the drive trays in case you break one. Other than that, it's useless. But on the same side of things, right, that's my perspective coming from a business advisement. Home user says, I don't know, I just want to buy one. Hey, go buy it. I'll help you. If you want any help in the migration, I'm there to help you. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just having a hard time understanding why you would voluntarily spend money and all the configuration and time involved to get it all set up just to end up with it working exactly the same as it works today, with the same drives you have today and the same storage limits you have today. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. If you want to, do it because you want to. That's all well and good, and I'm happy to help. But that's not normally in my career, people don't have that conversation. They say, we have this particular goal that we're trying to reach. We have a particular issue or a problem. We need it solved. And we don't have an open checkbook to just spend any amount of money. And we need it yesterday. That's what I'm used to. So I just want to share with you an example of the kind of conversation you would have with a consumer versus with a business. And they're not wrong. There's nothing Mitch said is wrong. It's foreign to me. I'm like, you want to do what? You want to spend how much? And you're doing that because I want to? Okay. This has a better processor. Yeah, but how does that change anything? Has faster networking. Yeah, but it doesn't, because the rest of your network isn't fast. So it's still going to run the same speed. I don't care. Don't get me wrong. I don't care. Buy it if you want to buy it. But I guess my mistake was in asking why. My goal is to help. My goal is to say, let's get you set up. Let's get this thing resolved. What are we fixing? Nothing. Okay. Okay. And that's fine. I just have to wrap my head around that concept. Like, oh, we're doing this just because. Huh. Never occurred to me. Like, I wouldn't do that, but that doesn't mean other people wouldn't. So, and sometimes that offends people, and I don't mean it for it to offend anybody. I'm just sharing a perspective, because if it's that weird to me, it might sound like my attitude is weird to you, because then you're not used to what I'm dealing with. And so I'm like, that's how I feel, the other way around. But it's okay. It's fine. It's not it's not like I'm going to say no. Of course I'm going to help. I'm just trying to understand how do I know when I'm done? How do we establish when the job is finished? Well, if everything goes back to working exactly as it works today, we're good. Okay. Now I understand the job. Fine, no problem. I find it slightly amusing, but at the same time, it's a reminder to me, and a valuable reminder, that there are a big difference between dealing with a consumer in business and dealing with a business in business. And that's a great reminder for me to remember. Consumers sometimes do things simply because they can, for no other reason. It's an emotional thing. Whereas businesses usually, at least in my experience, have deadlines, goals, budgets, limitations, restrictions, and qualifications. And consumers just go, well, that's just because that's what I want. And I just sometimes, I'm trying to find a shortcut to get the consumer where they need to go. But when they're already there, it's like, oh, there's no shortcut to this. It's you're doing it on purpose, just because you want to. Okay, I forgot people do that. I don't even do that. For the most part, if I'm doing something, there's an investment, right? And I need a return on the investment. I'm so business mindset that I live my life that way. So it's really foreign to me, is all I'm trying to say. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with these. Not doing anything wrong. Not making fun of anybody. If anything, I'm making fun of myself because I'm puzzled. Hey, my light went off. This charged. So there you go. You know what? I'm curious. When I plug this in now, what's my draw? Because if it's charged, it should say it's drawing 0, right? I didn't even look. Let's see. So the light comes on as it evaluates the battery string. It says it's drawing 0.2. And then I'll wait for the light to go off. Let's see. Now it's drawing 0.1. The light is still on. So it's still communicating with the battery. Like I say, as the battery gets full, that charge is going to go down and down and down. And eventually that light should go off. I don't know if you can see the light. There's a red light. And that light goes off when the unit says it's charged. And I'm going to let it sit here for a minute while it does its thing. And before I unplug it next time, I want to see if that screen says 0 when the light goes out. For all I know, the 0.1 it's drawing is what's causing the light to come on. That's how much power the light takes. But no, it doesn't work that way. There's a circuit board there, and it should cut it off. Yeah, well, it's flickering between 0 and 1, like it's having a hard time deciding. The light's still on. Now it's at 0. The light is still on. Well, no, it's bouncing around. It's like it's, you know, when you're filling up the gas tank and the nozzle starts clicking because you're at the right there at the top. That's what it's doing right now. Now it says 0.0. The light is still on. So the mouse is saying it's charging when it isn't. The charger says I'm not charging it. So I'll check it here in a minute. It shouldn't take very long. And I'm sure that this will stay 0 and that light will catch up and flip off. So this is accurate. It is truthful about what it's doing, at least in this very minimal testing. That's the way I would expect it to behave. Frankie says, did I talk Mitch out of buying it? Well, look, I don't care if Mitch buys it. And I want to be very clear on this. I'm just trying to understand what is the goal that we're trying to achieve. If the goal is simply he wants one more bay, right? There's no reason to talk about the CPU power. It keeps bringing it up, and I'm like, I don't understand why you're bringing it up. You don't use it. You're not even, as weak as you think your CPU is now, you're not even barely using what it's capable of. So getting more of that as a justification is just him, in my opinion, you know, getting kind of swept up in the marketing. You know, watching influencers talk about, here's the new Synology, blah, 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 and this is the processor. It all sounds wonderful, but it doesn't change how he's using it. So it won't benefit him other than psychologically. So, you know, when he's not arguing about it, I'm just saying, help me understand. So I don't know. In the past, when I've had these discussions, you know, when somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it. I'm not telling him he shouldn't. I'm not telling him he should. I'm trying to answer some questions, right? And I'm saying, well, the CPU doesn't matter. You know, do I have to move all my stuff over? No, you could move the drives. And then Synology, if you go from one Synology to another one, it'll ask if you want to migrate. But the reason it's asking is you can't migrate it backwards. You can only migrate forwards. So if you do that, there's no going back without reformatting and resetting. And then I'd like the extra drive bay. How full is your array now? 50%. How long did it take you to get to 50%? 5 years. Well, I mean, that means you got another 5 years, right? I mean, if you keep collecting or adding to your collection at that same rate, there's no clock ticking immediately about worrying about running out of space. So, you know, I just given him food for thought. I hope I'm helping him to understand what to expect, regardless. Like if he keeps everything the way it is, here's what you can expect. If you spend the money and do the upgrade, this is the process. You can't go backwards. This is the cost. And that way there's no buyer's remorse or blame when expectations will be met either way. And what he decides to do, I'm good with it. You know, if he wants any help, if he wants to stay with what he's got, or if he wants to replace it and he would like some help, I am more than happy in either scenario to lend a hand. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want him to say, not that he would, but I've had home users and even business users that were under the false assumption that they were getting something that would benefit them. And I'm saying this isn't going to benefit you. So if you're okay with it not benefiting you, I'm okay with it. In my experience, I'll talk to back in the day, in the early 2000s, a home consumer would call me and say, for example, and this is real, it happened multiple times. I recently replaced the network card in my computer, and now my internet's not working. And so I said, well, why did you replace the network card in your computer? And you say, well, I've got a 100 megabit network card, and I want my internet to go faster, so I bought a gigabit network card. And at that time, people had like 1.5 meg DSL. And I say, well, that's not going to make your internet any faster. Well, that's not what the guy at the store told me. Well, that isn't going to benefit you. If you would have called me and explained to me what you were trying to accomplish, I would have told you you need to get faster internet first. Your network card isn't barely being used. Your 100 megabit card on a 1.5 DSL, I mean, you're barely using it. Especially even cable modems, in the early 2000s, you were going pretty slow. It wasn't uncommon for people to have a 100 megabit modem and a 100 megabit network card. And it won't do you any good to upgrade one without upgrading the other. And they didn't understand that. So now they've purchased it. They're having trouble making it work because they wanted it to go, or they thought it would go faster. So they spent money they didn't need to spend, created a problem they didn't need to have when nothing was broken, with a false expectation that they were led to believe that if they spent the money, that they would somehow magically make their internet go faster. So then what do? Right? You say, well, look, it's not going to hurt you to have that network card. And I can help you get the drivers and get it installed. Or you can put it back in the box and return it to the store you bought it for a full refund. And then the customer tells me what they want to do. I'm happy either way, whatever the customer wants to do. Doesn't matter to me. I just want them to understand what to expect when we're done. I don't want them mad at me. I don't want them calling me going, I don't understand why this isn't any faster. Oh, wait. Now I figure out that's why you're doing it after I've been paid to do the work. Now I'm finding out that's what you thought the end result was going to be. I've learned in this business, you set that all up before you do any work. You make sure the customer knows what the costs and time are involved, and don't you change your price. Don't tell the customer, oh, sorry, it was harder than I thought it was. You have to pay me more. And at the same time, you do all the work and you expect a pat on the back and the customer's mad at you. And you go, why are you mad at me? I did what you said. Well, because my internet's not any faster. You never told me that. Well, you never asked. Oh my gosh. So now what I've learned is to say right out of the gate, what are we trying to do here? And I'm so glad I do, because probably half of the time, what they're trying to do has nothing to do with what they're trying to accomplish. And it's not an insult. I'm just telling you, that's really what happens. So in order to help them, I need to figure out why they're doing it. Oftentimes, about 50% of the time, the reason they're doing it is it doesn't have anything to do with the problem they're trying to solve. And I want them to know that. Before we agree that I'm going to work for you, before we agree to a price and a timeline, I want you to know this is going to be your end result. Is this the end result you wanted? Is this the end result you're expecting? If they say yes, we're good to go and the work can begin. But oftentimes, about half of the time, they go, that's not, what do you mean that's not going to solve my problem? That has nothing to do with your problem. Nothing at all. Then we get to what they should have been asking from the beginning, which is, how do I solve this problem? Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now you're asking the person with all the experience how to solve a technical problem. Perfect. That is exactly where that phone call should have started. And the customers don't know enough to ask that in most cases. So it's my job to consult with them, to advise them for the information that's useful for them, not to just put a blanket statement out that say, oh, this is for everybody. No, I have to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, how much money you want to spend, what timeline you're under, what end result you're expecting. Once we get that clarified, and until we get that clarified, I don't start the work. Because I'd rather not do the work. I don't want you mad at me. So let's clarify this. And as long as we're both on the same page, you're going to be a happy customer leaving me a 5-star review every single time. But if I'm just there to grab the money and say, well, not my problem. You're the one who told me what to do and I just did it. I deserve to get paid. They're like, yeah, but it didn't solve my problem. Say, you didn't tell me that was your problem. They say, well, you didn't. And around and around and around it goes. And then I'm upset with them for misleading me and expecting me to read their mind. They're pissed off with me because they think I just ripped them off. Nope, I don't do that. Others might do that, and I don't mind. Let them, okay? I'm not telling other people how to do their job. But that's why I do that. I've been burned too many times. I've been blamed for somebody's misunderstandings. So I like to clear all that up before I start. The light went off, and this says 0.0 watts. So it's no more power delivery coming through the cable. That means it's just kind of sitting here idle. This is fully charged. What happens if I plug in my phone? Let me grab a USB-C cable. Now you got to remember, you need a compatible high power cable. Not all cables will be compatible with higher wattages. I think this one is, but let's see. The phone should tell me when I plug it in if it's supercharging or not. Super fast charging, it says. 16 minutes until full. And this says we're drawing 13.9 watts. Probably because we're only like in the 90 percentile of current charge. So there's only this much left to charge. Like I said, for extended battery life, for the battery to last of a longer lifespan overall, not just like per charge, but just its overall life, they say to keep it at around 80%. I'm at 93% and I'm recharging it now. And my battery seems fine to me, so what do I know? But that would explain why, right now it's only charging at 6.4 watts. If I let this phone drain to less than, let's say, 50%, I'd be curious how high up that number would go. So even though it says supercharging, super fast charging, it really isn't. It only super fast charges when you're below, I don't know what the number is. It's somewhere around 60%. And if I let this drain to 20%, then I think that gets the highest possible wattage. And as it gets full, it starts to reduce that voltage down and lets the battery start to cool down and prevents the charger from overheating. It's all there to keep your house from burning down. Also to keep your battery from being, having heat abuse. And it's built into the circuit board. It's not built into the battery. It's built into the controller that's charging the battery. It's not like the old days where you could put like alkaline batteries in a charger. Pretty much the technology won't allow that anymore. Most good technology anyway will say, yeah, these aren't rechargeable and just not charge it. People sometimes learn lessons the hard way, and after you've had a fire, and then your insurance company won't pay it because you did it, and maybe you want to sue the company and they didn't do anything. It's just misuse of the product. So they said, okay, well, this isn't working, so we're going to just do it for them, whether they like it or not. And it may be some laws were passed that forced them to do that too. Consumers aren't learning. So we have to protect the consumers from themselves and force the technology to charge the proper way. We cannot rely on customers. The average consumer doesn't know any better. Terrell Cochran said he got a pleasant surprise the other night when Spectrum turned on symmetrical on his fiber. Ooh, so he's getting it. Is it both ways? High speed both ways, up and down? Chris Johnson says hello. Jonathan Fells joins us and says hello. Bajin Guy says hello. Kenneth Brown saying hello. So yeah, I don't know if Frankie, to answer your question, I don't know if he's going to buy it or not. I think it's too much money. I mean, I think he mentioned it was an awful lot of cash for, I think it was about $850 for the 1525 right now. That's empty, you know, no drives. But on the other hand, it's not like he needs my permission. If he orders it, I'm happy to help him. Like I said, I don't have to understand it. If he wants it and he wants some help setting it up, that's what I'm here for. Terrell said he's getting 500 up and 500 down. That doesn't sound like fiber. We get 2,500 down and 300 up. I want to say, is it 300? Yeah, we're getting 2,500 down on ours. I wish it was 2,500 up, but maybe someday. Some people in Phoenix do get that, but we're not in that area. We don't have it yet. And Kenneth Brown became a supporter. He's now a member, well, it doesn't say how many months, but over 12 months. Thank you, Kenneth. Well, it looks like we just went over 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Terrell says that's the slowest fiber they offer is 500 up and down. Oh, I see. Hey, I bet you're paying a lot less for yours than we're paying for ours. Ours is about $200 a month. But I am running a business with it. There's the old justification machine at work right there, my friends. Watch me justify this. We use the heck out of it, in all honesty, though. I mean, these live streams, for example, today, we're uploading this video in 4K at 30 frames a second. That is averaging 30,000 kilobits a second. So that's 3 megs. Is that right? No, it's more than 3. It's 35 megs, between 30 and 35 megabytes per second upload for the last 2 hours and 18 minutes. And we have had 0 drop frames. Not a single 30 frames every second for 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's an upload uninterrupted with no errors, no transmission problems. For right now, we're on 2 hours and 18 minutes, and the current bandwidth is at 30 megabytes per second. Not 30 megabits. It'd be 300 megabytes. No, it's not 300. Hold on a second. The math between bits and bytes. We're essentially uploading at 30 megabytes per second. And we can download 250 megabytes per second. So that's how the difference. Now, the maximum upload speed should be 300. So we're technically only using 1/10 of our upload speed at 30. Now, if this was broadcasting at 1080, we could cut that by 75%. We could do it at about 8 megabytes upload. But 4K is 4 times larger. It requires 4 times more data. And 8 times 4, you're at what, 32? So we're right there. We're hovering between 30 and 32. It kind of bounces around depending on the bit rate, what's happening on the screen. It tries to compress it down. So if it's like a static image, it'll sort of reduce down quite a bit. And if there's a lot of movement, a lot of changes in lighting, then it'll go up, and it'll be a variable bit rate. We're hovering, if you're curious on the technical side, at 4K live, 30 frames a second. Everything's in 30s, isn't it? 30 frames per second, 30 megabytes up. But we should be at a maximum 300 up. I've never tried it. I don't think we ever see 300. I think we typically see somewhere in the 200s if we speed test it. And I don't care. Like, it's so much more than we need. But when I upload videos to YouTube and stuff, not being live, whew, they go up quick. I'm like, ooh, that's nice. Then I just have to wait forever for YouTube to process it. That takes longer than the video uploads do. That wasn't that way back in the day, let me tell you. Well, I'll follow up. Mitch right now, he's taking a little weekend vacation. And he went out to Las Vegas to see a big band from the 1970s called Pablo Cruz. He's seen them in concert many, many times. And it's probably where he's sitting right now, listening to the band play, singing right along to every song, I bet you. So it sounds like he's having a great time. And he's indoors out of the heat. And then, yeah, we'll follow up with him. And I'm not going to harass him about it. And I just want him to know that even if I have a hard time wrapping my mind around why you would do this, I'm still going to help you. Don't hesitate to ask. Doesn't bother me at all. Terrell says he had to get a new power supply for his ONT last week. I didn't know an ONT used a power supply. An ONT is where the fiber connects in and converts into copper, right? Let me just Google that. An optical network terminal is a hardware device used in fiber optic internet networks. It acts as a bridge between your internet service provider's fiber network and your home copper network. It translates the light signals from a fiber optic cable into standard electrical signals that your computers and routers can. So basically fiber to copper. I didn't realize they had power supplies, but that really wouldn't be on you, right? You can't buy an ONT, can you? I don't think they're available for sale, are they? That has to come from a corporation, which would mean anything connected to it, like power, would come from them. So that wouldn't be you replacing anything. That'd be you calling them and saying something's wrong. They diagnose it. They're the ones that replace it. Or are things different for you? Because as far as I know, there's nothing you can't touch it. You don't own it. It's not yours. You can't fix it. And if you do, it's considered vandalism. But correct me if I'm wrong, because we don't have that. So I've never dealt with it. But usually that's, as far as I know, not something you can buy, not something a consumer can buy. But let me look on Amazon. Do they sell an ONT? I mean, they do have converters, right? They have, like, TP-Link sells these little boxes where you would plug like an SFP optical cable and then an RJ45. But I don't think that's an ONT. I think that's just a fiber to copper converter. But again, I could have that wrong. Maybe that's basically what it is, outside attached to the house. I don't think that's what it is, though. Well, if you guys know, let me know, because I don't. I don't know. That's outside of my wheelhouse. If somebody called me and said they were having a problem with their fiber, I'd say call the people that you're paying for your fiber. I might be taking Terrell's comment too literally. Terrell says the internet service provider sent him one to have him replace it. Okay, so like a modem then. It's not uncommon, you know, depending on where you live, they usually will offer that as an option to say, well, we can send out a service tech to collect your old modem and install your new one. Or they have to send out a service tech because they don't know what the problem is and they're not just going to take your word for it. And so it may not even be an option. We have to send our own personnel out there. They're the ones who have to make that determination. They're the ones that'll collect the bad unit and replace the good unit, get it configured and tuned, make sure it's getting a strong signal and everything. Because if you do it yourself, then it becomes like, you know, they used to sell DSL modem kits. And you'd say, okay, here's the box, and inside of the box it says, you know, step 1, plug it in. Step 2, take your old modem, put it back in this box. Step 3, stick on the enclosed return shipping label, or take it to the local store. Like they'll have a retail outlet. So like Cox Communications out here, you could either mail it back to Cox Communications, or you can go to one of the Cox residential retail centers and deliver your equipment. Get a receipt to prove you returned it, or at least when you're shipping it, you keep your tracking number because they will bill you for it if they don't get it back within a certain period of time. So if you let their service personnel come out and do it, you might have to wait longer than if you did it yourself. But if there's anything else wrong, they've got everything they need in the truck. So if the ONT is in fact bad and that's all it is, and they send you a new one and you're capable and willing to swap it out, I do believe that's just an option, right? Do I have that right? Brian Groom says, hello, Carey. I'm Brian from Madison, Maine. I'm surprised to see you live this late at night. Do you normally broadcast live on YouTube with this time of night? It's only 7 o'clock. See, you're on the other side of the United States where it's 10:30. It's only 7:30 here. It's not late at all. In fact, this is about my dinner time. But no, I don't normally go on this late. But you know, the beauty about having my own YouTube channel is I can go on whatever I feel like it. And today, I felt like it. That's all. I had a customer call scheduled for today, and the customer said, I got to reschedule. Something came up. And I said, well, now what am I going to do? And I thought, oh, I could go live and talk about this charger. That's why we're here today. Also, just to hang out if you have any questions for me. This is, you know, I'm not distracted with other stuff going on, so I can see your question and provide an answer. Terrell says he was out of internet for 3 days. You know what I do when I'm out of internet is I just use my phone. Just grab my phone and I use my internet on my phone. And if I need the internet on my laptop or my desktop, I just turn the hotspot sharing on my phone. Is there any reason you can't do that? It's free. Like all I gotta do is push a button, turn it on. Now, granted, I only get like 10 gigs a month on my data plan, but I don't even use 2. I mean, I use this thing for Spotify and, you know, Waze, GPS track, you know, when I'm going somewhere, I need the mapping. It barely uses any data every month. I think the one time I exceeded the data limit was on a 3-week-long road trip. And it was a long day in the car where I charged it at the hotel, started out driving at like 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. And by like, it might have been 10 o'clock at night, the battery died. We just switched over to Mara's phone. And then we were already running a couple things plugged into the car. So I don't think I had any available USBs. Otherwise, it could just plug it in and just run it indefinitely while it's in the car. I can't remember what we were using the USB ports for. But regardless, we just turn the GPS on the other phone, unplug that phone so I could plug mine in to charge. I think the Challenger only has the one USB port. Some cars have multiple, you know, the big SUVs, the family SUVs. Everybody gets a USB port. Not in my car. And that's okay. We make it work. Not a big deal. NY Renal MD said, I just found you live. He says he owns this charger and it works fine. The only issue is I wish the screen would automatically come on if I plug something in new. I always have to press the button to wake it up. The screen hasn't gone to sleep on me this whole time. So I don't know how long it has to sit, but I've never seen the screen go off. It's still new to me though. But I haven't touched it or done anything with it for a while, and the screen is not turned off. And it does have that big master power button. As far as I know, I got to hold the power button in for the screen to go off, but maybe I haven't let it, maybe it needs to sit a couple hours, I don't know. Yeah, he's saying the screen goes to sleep too much. I've never seen the screen go to sleep yet. Not once. The only time the screen goes to sleep is if I hold the power button down, and then it's off. And then if I just tap the button, it won't come back on. That's not asleep, that's off. You have to hold the button in, and then it powers back up again. Because it's not a touch screen. You can't wake it up that way. How would they expect you to wake it up? That's where I'm a little confused. Are you sure you have the same model as me? You have the 252 watt 8 port? I mean, I'm accustomed to looking at the device. I'm not accustomed to having the screen. That might take some getting used to for me. I'm looking at the lights to see the status of the charge. Let me see. There's a maximum 100 watts per port or 125 watts per pair. It has overcharge protection. I don't know if it even mentions sleep in this. I mean, I thought the documentation was awfully thick for as simple of a device, but maybe it does more than just the few things that I've been playing with. Maybe there's some deeper menu options. I don't think there is. This is really talking about power distribution, display information. To turn the screen on or off, press and hold the function button for 3 seconds. Yeah, that's just what we demonstrated. A short press at this screen will begin per press cycling for each of the ports. Yeah, I already showed that. Then it returns to the main screen. Push the button twice and it'll rotate the display 180 degrees. Yeah, I did all this without reading the instructions. Nothing about a sleep mode. This does not, well, hold on, I'm not done yet. Nope. This says the only way that screen goes off is if you hold the button in for 3 seconds and shut the unit off. There's no mention of the screen going to sleep in this entire manual, and I've never seen it happen. So I'm baffled. Either you're using something different, or I don't know. There's something different piece of information I don't know. NY Renal MD says maybe mine is broken. Well, Sabrent makes different models though, right? You know that. They make more than just this. So my question is, which Sabrent do you have? Just because Sabrent makes it, and just because it looks like it. How long have you had it? This only came out, I don't know, Not very long ago. I wonder if the internet can tell me. I know this is a fairly new product. I just don't know how to define what that means. But I can. Let's see. When did Sabrent introduce the 252W USB charger? Came out quite a while ago. The 8-port USB charging station, the VOLTIK model AX8PTC, came out in early 2025, so about a year and a half, about 18 months. So if yours is older than 18 months, you definitely have a different unit. But ours is the 8-port, this is it. Or maybe you reach out to Sabrent Tech Support. I found them to be very helpful, and ask them, you know, if that's operating properly, because you should still be under warranty. It'll cost you a few seconds to write an email. Who does it say to email? How to contact. Oh, you know what? It's probably on this piece of paper. It says extend your warranty to 2 years, not to 3. Here, let me give this to you, so you don't have to Google it and then end up talking to a scammer. This is the official way to contact Sabrent. There's the website, the phone number, and the email, support@sabrent.com. The website, sabrent.com/support. And then right there in the middle, at the bottom, you want to call them over the phone. Let us know what they tell you. He says he taps the button and the screen comes on. Huh. I mean, I would understand if it is going to sleep, but there's nothing in the documentation about that. And I haven't personally, the whole time we've been on camera now, what, almost 2.5 hours? Over 2.5 hours. It's never gone to sleep this whole time. Now, I was fidgeting with it for a while, but it's also been just sitting here for a while too, and without me touching it, and nothing. This looks like just warranty information, so I would ask them. Don't listen to me. Talk to the manufacturer. I mean, they should know. And do it while you're under warranty, just in case it is bad. I would not procrastinate that. He says, I bought a Sabrent VOLTIK charging station, 252W, 8-port USB-C. Yeah, that's the same one we've got. Bought it about 3 months ago. He says it's like a screensaver, I guess. Well, how long would you estimate you have to wait? Because are you waiting like 6 hours or 12 minutes? Oh, I'm trying to figure out if I can replicate that on the unit I have. When you wake yours up, approximately how long before it goes to sleep? Because I've never seen it go to sleep, but it's still new to me. It may not be a screensaver. Because I would think it'd be mentioned in the documentation. Oh, let's just ask. Hold on. What am I thinking? Does the Sabrent VOLTIK 252W have a screensaver feature? Yes, it says it does have a built-in screensaver and power saving behaviors. When it's connected but inactive, meaning that no devices are actively charging, the color LCD display automatically switches to the Sabrent logo and then dims after 10 minutes. Additionally, if you are viewing a single port's detailed charging status, it will revert to the primary multi-port status display after 2 minutes of inactivity. So that I did witness. I watched it do that. You can also completely turn the screen on or off manually at any time by pressing and holding the function button for 2 seconds. 1, 2. No, that didn't work. 1, 2. No, all that's doing is switching the ports. 1, 2, 3. Now it's off. Now, when it's off, it's not going to charge, right? If I plug this in, I don't think this will charge, will it? It didn't, in other words, it didn't just turn off the screen, it turned off the whole unit. Let me see. Oh, no, this is still, yeah, it's still charging. That just turns off the screen. So if I tap and release, see what I'm saying? If tapping and releasing isn't waking it up, it's off. So if I hold it down, then the screen comes on, but the phone's been charging the whole time regardless. That's interesting. I would write an email to Sabrent and I would let them know of your frustration and how you would like it to work, because it may be something that they have a firmware update for, or it may be something other people have been complaining about. I would let them know if it's bothering you, because they could already have a solution for it. And if not, you're giving them a reason to create one, if you know, especially if there's others with a similar complaint. I've not seen that happen here yet. The only way I can get the screen to turn off is holding that power button down. And I assumed when I did that, it would stop charging. So, you know, I'm glad you asked, because I did not know it was still charging with the, all this is doing is turning the screen off. That's all it's doing. Some kind of a screen control button, I guess. It's not a power button like I thought it was. Well, I mean, it's a power button for the screen. Love technology. He says, it's like I walk in a room and it says Sabrent. So the screen isn't off, it says Sabrent. I would expect if it plugged in a new device, it doesn't always turn on. I always have to tap it. Yeah, I would reach out. Just ask them. They might already be aware of this. But I see what you're saying. You know, when you're plugging in a new device, that the screen would light up. Yeah. And maybe it's supposed to, is all I'm trying to say. How do you know it's not supposed to do that and yours is just not working right? I don't know. You'd have to talk to them and verify that they can validate that's working properly, and ask them if they have any plans on addressing that or not, if the answer falls that way. And I know you're saying it's not a big deal, but if it bothers you enough, I mean, it's no big deal to send an email either. And at least that way you know exactly what to expect. Mark Gaines said 3:19 in the morning in Northern Ireland. Well, have a good night, Mark. I'm glad you hung out with us today. Hopefully you'll sleep well. It's 8 hours ahead of our time. He's already into tomorrow. Get me a lottery ticket. Well, speaking of dinner, I think that'll wrap it up for me. Chat room got real quiet, so thank you guys for hanging out. It was fun hanging out on a Saturday night. I don't normally do that, and appreciate you hanging out with me. My phone says it's fully charged. All right, I should be good until Monday. And we'll be back live tomorrow as normal. We've got a part 2 of a mini PC to follow up on. I haven't decided which one yet. Once we do that, we have 3 more after that. I think we have a total of 4 to go through. So that's the next 2 weeks of content, unless something else comes in. I didn't really want to make a video just on this, so I thought this was a great opportunity to take advantage of canceled plans and hang out with you guys. Matt Burley, thanks for the feed, joining us from Hong Kong. Hey, that's cool. He says Happy Father's Day to everyone. Oh yeah, yeah, Happy Father's Day. That's in the UK and in the United States. It's a pretty universal set day, isn't it? So Happy Father's Day to everybody. And yeah, that'll wrap it up. So I hope to see you back here tomorrow, 1 o'clock Pacific time, as we follow up a part 2 on one of our 4 remaining mini PCs that we've done the initial review on. Right, we've already got part 1 on these mini PCs done. It's available for you to watch at your convenience. And then we do the part 2 where I did, cover things like the BIOS or test results that we didn't have time to run, and then give you my own final sort of recommended or not recommended conclusion on them. And then we'll do the same thing again. I'm not sure if we'll do Wednesday or not. I'm running out of content, but ideally we'll be live Wednesday. And of course, for the members, we'll be live Monday as well, for all the members only. So thank you again for watching, and thank you for the contributions. I want to thank our friend Buster for his contribution. Hopefully he's sound asleep. And to all the members and for everybody hanging out with me today, thanks for hanging out. We enjoyed having you here. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Thanks to Mara. She put together everything in the last minute. And she handles all the emails, and she handled working with Sabrent to get us this device and take all that workload off my shoulders, all the administrative tasks, and she really likes it. So I'm glad she's good at it, and she likes it, because I don't like doing that part of this job. So if you guys want to write in one more time, I'm going to put the email on the screen here. So if you have any questions for us, just write in anytime. We love hearing from you. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Until tomorrow, bye for now.